G'day folks and welcome to Australian UFO Sightings official podcast. I'm your host Anthony Goodall and you're listening to Encounters Down Under. Here we invite guests on the show to tell us about their encounters with aliens and UFOs, where most of our episodes were streamed live from our Facebook page, which gave listeners the opportunity to ask questions to our guests regarding their encounter. If you have had an encounter and would like to be a guest on the show, please get in touch with us. You can send us a message through our Facebook page, Encounters Down Under, or send us an email at australianUFOsightings@outlook.com.au. Be sure to join us on Facebook and share with your friends and family to help us grow, and hopefully encourage others to come forward with their encounter. If you're an iTunes listener and a fan of the show, why not give us that 5-star rating and review, and you could have your review featured on the podcast. But enough of that, let's get into what you've been waiting for. So kick back, relax with your favourite beverage, and enjoy the show. G'day folks and welcome to another episode of Encounters Down Under. I had the privilege of being invited to Unlocking the Code podcast, where I joined Triffon and covered some great aspects of the UFO phenomenon, as well as some of the theories of human history and the world's development. Be sure to check out their podcast, which is available on all the major platforms.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, everyone. It's my great pleasure to introduce Anthony from the Encounters Down Under podcast. How are you, mate?
Going good, mate. Self?
Really good, man, and awesome to have you on, mate. We're having each other on. Is that what we're doing?
Pretty much, mate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting it on together, mate. You know.
Yeah. Something's on something. Something's going on.
Mate, I think the pleasure's all mine, really.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. I definitely feel had. Mate, as I say, pleasure to have you on, man. Always good connecting with other Aussie podcasters. I think it's fantastic. And so your show, you talk to people about their encounters with UFOs. Now, 1,000 questions, but the first one is why? Why did you start Encounters Down Under? What was the key there?
I suppose, like, from an age, I've always had an interest in the whole concept of the aliens and UFOs and all that stuff that happens around the world and that. But what really sort of got me was like listening to people's stories, and that's where, to me, that was like the greatest part about the whole UFO concept was like, people's experiences and such. Yeah. And it sort of keeps diving into this unknowing world of the reality of what these things are, And so I suppose that's where I got my passion a little bit, and the real interest in it all, just following people's stories, we listen to the stories from the US and military and all sorts of stuff, but it's always sort of like seems to be the same sort of thing, But when it comes to people's experiences, like they're seeing different objects or different sort of beings and stuff, they're all having similar experiences, but they're always different in their own sense.
Yeah.
And it always seems to end in the same sort of concept as well. They might have brief little experiences, like little memories here that come through, or they might just see something that leaves them questioning for years later because they only got a glimpse of it for a few seconds there before they could sort of really get an understanding of what the hell it was. So, I guess, to me, that's just where it all led off from there.
So just a curiosity, mate. Curiosity for the story. Yeah. And look, it's a curiosity that leads us where we want to go, mate. I think that's being curious is very important. One of the questions I really wanted to ask you, because it's something we've talked about a little bit here on the podcast, is like, apart from, whatever happened the last 3 years, and we don't want to talk about it tonight, we've got better things to do. However, one of the craziest things that happened to me was they confirmed that UFOs are real and no one cares.
Yeah, it's surprising, isn't it?
Isn't that strange? I mean, what's your thoughts on that? I mean, I don't understand. And the problem that I've got at the moment, Anthony, is that as they keep going, oh yeah, UFOs are real, I believe them less and less. And I don't know whether that's an issue with what's happened recently, but what are your thoughts on that? I mean, it must have been crazy. I mean, that is literally your genre, and you've watched people just not even care that UFOs are real.
Yeah. Look, people are even still trying to deny that the existence are there. But then, you see it there on the media, they're committed to it, and that's the strange part. And, we sort of half expected people to take a bigger interest in the whole topic. And I suppose some people have sort of come out and, they've probably encouraged people to start coming forward with their own experiences and such. But a lot of people, not a lot, but, some people have sort of gone, well, what is actually out there? And they've all sort of started searching the internet to come across what these theories are and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But it's not like the massive pandemic that you sort of half expected people to go on, oh shit, aliens are real.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
It's not conclusive proof, but there's evidence that there's things that aren't from around here or are from here somewhere else that we don't have any idea, that we can't. Obviously the classic, the Tic Tacs are classic at the moment, aren't they? There
Yeah.
seems to be a Tic Tac phenomenon. However, that is obviously tracked by radar and David Fravor and all those sort of that's a very believable story and an actual real evidence. And yeah, I would have thought, especially considered the fear generated society that we exist in today, I would have thought maybe there would have been a different reaction. But it's been so fascinating that no one cares. And look, there's a book in the bookshelf there, mate, that is an alien book. It's literally falling apart because I bought it when I was 12. So it's been a fascination of mine forever. And I mean, it's hard not to think about a different agenda or something. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I just don't understand.
Yeah, it's sort of hard to get a grasp on the agenda. Like, people claim they're going to be like a fake alien invasion, that sort of stuff, and it's like, well, I'm open to the idea of it, but I really don't think so. Because then again, they'll just lead the U.S. military opening themselves up to lying to the whole world or their country. Saying these aliens were never a threat to begin with until now.
Yeah.
And that's like the whole purpose of why they've sort of haven't really bothered, because they weren't seen as a threat. I guess that's one thing that. I don't know. It's really weird, isn't it? Like, when you really think about it, like
It's
why
strange.
there's. But again, like you think of when they first brought it out, was it 2019 or 2020? When they bring out the disclosure on that.
Yeah, it was Joe Rogan, I think, was the big one, wasn't it? David Fravor. It was a bit before that, but I think
Yeah, they
it
sort of
was.
released it, but the big announcement through New York Times there, I can't remember, was that? I think it was 2019.
Yeah, I think 2019 rings a bell. Yeah.
And where was I going with that then? I've lost myself here. Sorry.
That's all right. The release in 2019 of the Fravor incident and the reaction.
Yeah, that's when COVID-19 came out. That's where I was going. So all the importance was going away from that. That's so COVID-19 was a big thing. World pandemics and stuff, and all the media concentration was on that, and so it basically threw the whole UFO agenda down the drain because of that, I think, and that's where there wasn't no mass hysteria because everyone's already closing doors.
Yeah, I suppose the other one that came out during that time was Bob Lazar.
Yeah.
Where do you sit with Bob? Do you believe Bob, or where do you sit with Bob? He's an interesting character, right?
No, he is. Look, I'm pretty confident in Bob. Like, he was saying things that were coming out. Things that
in the
were
80s.
true.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Like, you got the new element there. You had these like little weird handprint things there to go on for security scans.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that he said ended up being true, and I think I side with Bob too. However, yeah, he's an interesting character, and he's never made any money off it or anything else like that. Right. It's not like he's used it for and whatever. I'm pretty sure whatever money he made off that documentary, he gave it to the local high school to build a new science lab or something. So it's not, yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. It's fascinating stuff. So I suppose encounters down under. Have you had your own encounter, or
I did. Yeah, to me, to this day, I still try and explain it as away as two fighter jets, but I can tell you a story if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. Please do.
Yep. So I work in the mining industry there, and we're obviously on night shifts there. It's like about 2015 in January, roughly. So we're on night shifts about 10, 11 o'clock, something like that. And, just cruise along the machines and just work heavy machinery and that. And I can see there's two orange orb-like objects side by side, but in like a formation, like one in front of the other, and just cruising along. And so I looked at it and go, what the hell is that? Anyway, I was looking at it and going, oh, yeah, it's kind of cool. No navigation lights or anything like that. So I'm thinking, well, two fighter jets. And I'm thinking I might be seeing the afterburners of it. And the thing that threw me off was no navigation lights. So obviously I'm not going to hear any sounds there because I'm obviously in heavy machinery there. You can't hear jack shit.
Yeah, you're not going to hear anything.
And so I've jumped the two-way. They're like, hey, boys, you see what's flying over us there? And they're like, nah, I can't see it. They're looking around everywhere and no one seemed to see it. But anyway, I went for some smoko, some crib, lunch break, whatever you want to call it. And speaking to the people there, and they're like, yeah, no, we saw it. And I'm like, what the hell was it? It's 2 fighter jets or what? And like, no, there was like no noise, man. Like these things weren't that high either.
Yeah, right.
You know, those
Just doing a flyby, checking out what the boys were doing at the coal mine.
yeah, you know, it flew from northwest to southeast, so just in a straight line. Nothing too spectacular or amazing, like you know, to raise any real questions. But
yeah, they didn't start darting around the sky or anything else
nothing like that. So
Yeah.
there's nothing really overly unusual about it. So there's nothing to even give the slightest hint that they could have been ET craft or you know whatever. But the fact that like you know they're away from the other boys are away from all the machinery or the pit, you know, so they can hear anything that's going to go over, and these things went directly over the top of them. So you know they're saying there's no sound or anything, and if there were two fighter jets, you're going to hear it.
Yeah, it would have roared over the top of you. Yeah.
And yeah, so that's the thing that was confusing. And like, surely it's got 2 fighter jets because like it just looked like the afterburners. And like, yeah, no, there's nothing else, man. Like you know, these things just cruising past and no noise and just kept going over the horizon. And like they're probably gone within less than I don't know 5 minutes, 4 minutes, something like that. So they're booking along, but you know, just nothing spectacular that defies our knowledge.
Apart from no noise, which is another common thing. Yeah. Well, I mean, all my listeners have heard this story, but I had one when I was about 14, living in Ballarat in Victoria, and you know it was the 90s, mate. We didn't have any computers or anything, so we used to lay on the driveway and look at the stars. You know what I mean? I had me and a couple of friends, and I remember looking out my driveway straight across the paddock, and this thing just started bouncing around the sky, right? And I probably watched it for about, I don't know, 15, 20 seconds. And I realized they had like a small telescope that that my dad had. And I ran inside to grab the telescope, grabbed it. As I came outside, the thing did a little zigzag and then took off. Oh, so I never got to raise the telescope towards it. But yeah, I'll never forget that, man. Like that. And yeah, there was 3 or 4 other people that were all standing there going, what is that? And then, it was literally just zigzagging around the sky, like the classic story defying the physics, you know? And yeah, the only other one I had was Min Min light. Which was like, where was I? I was working the CSG fields far west of out near Roma or out near there, you know, the big fields out there.
Yep.
And we were coming home, like the boss said we could go home the next day. So me and my side would wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning and drive home at 2, you know what I mean? Because it's the next day, technically. So we were on the road 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, doing 100 Ks an hour. And and like we worked out there. We knew where all the rigs were. We knew where all the camps were, that sort of stuff. And then, this light appears to the left in the distance. And how I describe it is like a big train light. You'd seen them, the coal trains. You know, they've got the big spotlight on the front of them.
Yep.
But there's no rail out there. There's no line. Well, there's a line out there, but that's not where it is. And like what? And it was one of those things, man, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. We're pretty tired into the swing. And about 5 minutes, this goes on. This light's to the left of us. Doesn't get any closer. Doesn't get any further. It's really bright, really white. And I finally looked to my side. I'm like, do you see what's going on? He's like, yeah, do you? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, oh, good. Because I was worried it was just me. You know what I mean? Been a long 3 weeks. Like, you know, we could be seeing things. And anyway, we watched it for another couple of minutes. And then and it never got any closer, never got any further, never got any dimmer. And then all of a sudden, it winked out just as quickly as it winked on. And I don't know, you know, like, yeah.
It's amazing, eh? It raises a lot of questions, and you know, we try and figure out what the hell these things are, like, especially like the concept of the zigzagging in the sky. Like, what the hell is that all about? You know, that's got me buggered. Like, you know, these.
Well, it's anti-gravity tech. It's anti-gravity tech, whatever it is, yeah.
And like, you know, they can zip hundreds of miles or kilometers or what do you want to call it? You know, in seconds, like within a second. But to be bouncing around like a pinball, it's like, why?
Yeah, I don't know, makes you wonder whether they saw us watching them and they were putting on a show or something. You know, like I don't understand that. And sometimes they seem to do that. I mean, if you think what's that guy's name? Stephen Greer. That's his thing. He calls the UFOs to him or whatever. He goes out to the desert and plays them music or something.
Yeah, I'm a little bit.
Yeah, me too.
On Stephen Greer, he's got the right idea, I suppose, but the way he goes about, I don't like. Because you know, he monetizes off the whole thing.
Hmm.
he makes a marketing out of the whole damn thing. You know, and that to me,
And there always
that's wrong.
seems to be a new fad as well. There always seems to be a new fad with him as well.
Yeah,
Every couple of years, there's something else that he wants you to do.
yeah.
Um,
So like, yeah, like he's on the right path, I suppose. Like, and trying to want to, bring out disclosure or whatever, but like, I just don't feel that's the right way of going about it and trying to make a market out of it. It's not
mm.
right in my personal opinion, anyway.
No, I don't think so. I mean, look, you're an independent researcher. I'm an independent researcher. We do what we do because we love it,
Yeah,
because we're drawn to it. It's a passion. It's like, as you say, you've just got a curiosity. You have to know. And with my research, that's the same with me. They crisscross so much. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I suppose. Look, I know you wanted to ask me some questions as well, because considering this is a swapcast. But sort of last one. I mean, where do you think these things are coming from? Do you think that they're potentially? I mean, one of my theories, man, is they always what's in the ocean, Anthony.
Yeah.
They always go into the ocean, mate. They always come out of the ocean. We know less about our ocean than we do our near Earth space. Okay, what's in the ocean?
Well, you sort of beat one of my questions there now, so I was going to ask you. But
Oh yeah, well, I can. Yeah, we'll flip it back on me later if you want.
that's all right. Look, it's a really hard one to sort of answer on that one. Like, it's one of those rabbit holes. You can sort of go down one path there, and you think, well, are they interdimensional beings of sort? They're well and truly in front of our technology, and they've been able to break the dimensional barrier and being able to travel in that sort of way. Are they from another galaxy, or are they in this galaxy but from a different solar system?
Mm. Are
It,
they from this solar system?
well, exactly. They could have. There's so many different theories there. Like they come in from Mars, and then come swap planets, with us, or
Mm.
they could have always been terrestrial. They could have been from a different civilization in time when the Earth was doing its resetting and balancing, throughout its lifetime.
Yeah, well, I mean, so you want to flip the question back around on me? Where are
Yeah,
they coming from? All right.
yeah. So, what are your thoughts on it?
Look, a couple of things. Look, I mean, yeah, what's in the ocean? And I agree, interdimensional, intergalactic, drones. However, from an ancient civilization point of view, which I know that's what we're into here.
Yeah,
If you were, I mean, some of the research that I do, Anthony, I mean, there's OOPArt that goes back supposedly 300 million years, okay, that's found in coal, right? So
yeah,
imagine digging in the coal seam, and there's a sledgehammer, and I think that dates to 200 million years or something like that. Don't quote me, but it's a long time ago, and it's a proper sledgehammer with a handle and everything that they found in a coal seam, 100 meters below the ground. They found wagon wheels, all this OOPArt, gold chains. It's all this weird stuff, and it dates back 100 million, 300 million, 300,000, 300,000 years, and this fine gold chain come out of this bit of coal. We've got no idea, I don't think, mate. And I think if you were a race that survived a few cataclysms, you would figure out pretty quickly that the surface of this planet's a bit of a nasty place, right? Cyclones, tornadoes, earthquakes, floods, fires, you name it, right? It all happens on the surface. The stablest place on this planet is actually under the ocean.
yeah,
Right. So if you were going to continue to advance your race, and where would you invent anti-gravity tech? In the ocean, right? So, I mean, this is the whole point. These Tic Tacs can move through any medium. They've seen them dive into the ocean, come out of the ocean, and they don't decelerate or accelerate. It means nothing to them. And I do wonder whether the Tic Tacs are from around here. My offsider, he might have been here tonight, but he's not feeling too well, so he bailed. But he loves the reptilians, right? And his theory is, so what is it, 190 million to 60, no, 100, whatever it is. I think the reptiles had 110 million years to evolve, right? From when they, when they found the first fossil to the last fossil, when the meteorite hit 65 million years ago. So did they evolve? You know what I mean? And what's one of the key things you always hear? I mean, you would have heard it a heap yourself, mate. Reptilian aliens. You know what I mean? There's that reptilian representation. It is a mystery. The bigger mystery is why no one cares. However, we talk about the ancient civilization stuff. I mean, the UFOs are depicted in cave art, in the oldest cave art that we can find, there seems to be dish-shaped objects depicted on the walls through every ancient culture. I mean, but even you want to talk about Sumerians, right? So, you know, the Sumerians, in the Sumerian text, they knew that the cataclysm was coming, was going to be so bad that they fled the planet. That's what the texts say. They fled the planet.
It makes you wonder how they sort of got to know it. Like how the reading of the earth of such an ancient civilization, you know, how they figured this sort of stuff out. And like we can't even barely predict a bloody earthquake, you know?
Well, mate, I think they were a lot more advanced with us. I think they're in tune with the earth more than us. You know, I think, you know, with anything to do with the builder culture and the previous culture, we really got to start thinking in vibration and frequency and sound. And, you know, the earth is a big magnet, right? Don't tell me that there isn't enough energy here, right? There's a guy, it's on the list of subjects to investigate, but apparently this guy harnessed the magnetic power of the earth through magnetos and motors and basically created a perpetual motion device. And then all of a sudden he shot himself in the head twice. You know what I mean? And the design goes away. We don't understand. Well, I think we do. I think there's been a suppression of many, many things, and an understanding of who these beings are. I mean, so let's take, you know, we work on the 1% theory here at UTC, Anthony. So what if 1% of all the documentation you've seen that the governments of the world are, you know, liaising with these races and these beings and they know about them and blah, 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 secret space forces, battles under the ice, and, you know, there's so much of that stuff. Are you telling me that it's all bullshit? What if 1% of it is true?
But that's the thing. You keep your open mind. Like anything is possible. You know, that's the thing. A lot of people don't want to understand that because they just want to be narrow-minded, saying what is reality here. You know, like I'm all for logic and, you know, keeping your feet on the ground, not getting too up in the air with conspiracies and such like that. You know,
you just got to remain objective.
You know, yeah, it's like, you know, but conspiracies, like, they've come from somewhere, and like whether those conspiracies have been changed to suit their agenda or whatnot, but like at least got some part of that conspiracy's got to be true at some point.
Absolutely.
You know, like people are saying, like, you know, the Nazis went down to Antarctica. Like,
well, they definitely did.
I'm not against the idea. You know, it's possible.
Well, I mean, Hitler was obsessed with the paranormal and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, Antarctica is one of those things. We've been asked, some of our American correspondents have asked us to delve into Antarctica, so that's rocketing up the list. But I mean, there's Admiral Byrd that went down to Antarctica with a full battle fleet.
Yeah.
Like, why? And why can't we fly over Antarctica?
Well, I don't know. I don't know how true these things are. I've seen like the on Facebook they're advertising flights over Antarctica. Which areas they go to, I don't know. But, you know, suddenly there's flights all of a sudden. You know, before we never used to be able to fly down there.
Yeah,
because of just how dangerous it is. But now all of a sudden we can do that. So it's like, well,
but why is it dangerous? I mean, the Antarctica is weird, right? They split Antarctica up amongst 8 or 9 countries.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things we love here is the old maps, right? And there's the Piri-Reis map, there's the Archias map, I'm dragging stuff out of the brain box now, but there's a heap of these old maps where Antarctica's coastline is depicted free of ice.
Yeah, okay. So obviously someone's gone down there earlier and seen before the ice has sort of picked up.
Well, you got to remember that Antarctica supposedly wasn't discovered until 1800 or something like that. I think it was. I can't remember. It was after Australia. Whereas these maps dating back to the 1500s and earlier, but all the maps too, all the maps that we see now, they're all copies of maps that who knows how old, right?
Yeah.
And they have all these coastline, and Antarctica is one of the ones. There's in a couple of different maps is the coastline of Antarctica free of ice.
Wow.
And the only way that we know that it matches is that we've used, you know, penetrating technology, and we can see the landmass of Antarctica under the ice, and it does actually match the maps.
That's incredible.
How, you know, you talk about suspending belief systems, Anthony, and being objective. You need to completely let go of whatever you've been taught about our ancient history and our past and our civilizations. Like we were circumnavigating the globe for a long time. I mean, one of the ones that, just from more recent times, you talk about China. Up until 400 years ago, China was circumnavigating the seas in boats 4 times the size as the Spanish galleons, just giving shit away, like giving silk away and trade. And then 400 years ago, they changed regimes and shut their borders. But they had ships 4 times the size of Spanish galleons that were roaming the seas 400 years ago.
That's incredible. So it sort of makes you wonder where down that pathway things change. Because, like, our history is so dedicated to the Roman history. Like, we sort of gone through from the Greeks, and then the Romans sort of took over and became the world leader, taking over the entire European, taking over the UK and, pretty much all of Europe, really. Pretty much they've made a big influence there, and that's where we sort of followed through. So it sort of makes you wonder where in the history did things change from the Romans, where the Chinese sort of went their own way as well.
Well, you talk about the Romans. There's been Roman coins found in northern Australia. Now, I mean, it's been said that they were prospectors and they dropped coins or whatever, but, there's loose evidence that the Vikings went everywhere, basically.
Yeah.
Definitely into America, definitely into Europe, Mediterranean. Again, any mainstream theory of history is either built on a bed of sand, right? So it's not, when you dig into it, there's not a lot to it, or it's so thin, right? I mean, we talk about the hominids here, if you want to talk about different creatures and stuff like that. A couple of the hominids that they say are entire new beings are based off like a pinky knuckle, right? So all they've got is literally like that. And they're like, there's a whole new species. Like, how can you know what it looks like when all you've got is a pinky knuckle?
Yeah, that does make sense.
They've built an entire theory around it, right? And this is what I mean. It's so much stuff. The evidence is so thin, Anthony. I mean, the research here at UTC is focused but wide and varied at the same time, because every time you dig into a certain rabbit hole, it takes you down another one.
Yeah.
And then they all end up connecting back in somewhere along the way. But it's so random. The other one that, from the UFO stuff, they always talk about the elongated skulls and stuff like that. I mean, there's literally the Paracas skulls in South America are true elongated skulls, and they still had red hair on them when they found them, right? And these things are actually different beings. They're not, and then you've got all the cultures around the world that used to bind their skulls to make them elongated to honor the gods.
Yeah, I was about to mention that. I think that's in Africa, isn't it? Somewhere.
Yeah, Africa, South America.
Yep.
There's a lot of cultures that do that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I sort of mean. Like, when you come through like conspiracy there, and you go through our history, how much of history has been changed to adapt to the agenda where they want it to travel through?
Pretty much most of it.
Yeah, pretty much. So it makes you wonder, like, how much history have we lost out of all this? How much truth behind this history, I should say.
So much. It's unbelievable, to be honest, mate. Well, I suppose we're sort of steering into my territory. So did you want to ask me some questions, mate?
Well, so like basically, like throughout your research there, like aliens have always been a part of civilization. Like, where do you know roughly where the first sort of detail or information that might even hint to the fact that aliens were visiting at that time at all?
There's rock art here in Australia that is very interesting, depicting dish-shaped objects in the sky. Dates back, don't quote me on numbers here, I'm pulling them out of the air, but I'm pretty sure 30,000 plus years ago. There's depictions in hieroglyphs. There's actually, it'll take me a while to find it, but it's there's a day, I think it was 3,000 years ago in Egypt, where these discs turned up in the sky and basically danced around the sky for 3 days. And the pharaoh at the time made them make walls depicting this event because it was so, he deemed it so important. But I mean, it's such an interesting thing. So it's, the number has changed, right? So, but I know these numbers off by heart. It's much further back now. I think the oldest Homo sapiens sapiens skeleton is 500,000 plus years old now. Okay. But I know the numbers for 300,000 and that's how it was, right? Because the thing is, Anthony, each turn of the spade changes history. Okay. So let's pretend it's 300,000. So a generation is 25 years or so. Okay. So that means there's 6,666.66 out into infinity generations in 300,000. Okay. In 6 generations, in 150 years, we went from horseback as the main mode of transport to landing on the moon. So you're telling me in the other 6,660 generations we did fuck all?
Yeah, that's one of those things that I was actually going to bring that up myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what do we do?
Yeah. And so, but remember now, so that's 6,000, it's actually 500,000 plus, right? So add another, what's that, 1,000, 1,500 generations on top of that of Homo sapiens sapien. Okay. The other thing is too, is that, so 70,000 years ago, the reset button was hit in a major way here on planet Earth, where the human race globally got to somewhere between 5 and 10,000 people total, right? And they know that because all of our genes basically go back to those 10,000 people. However, between 70,000 and 12,900 years ago, which is when the first cataclysm came, yeah, sure, there were some interesting periods in that time, as there always is, but there was 50-odd thousand years there where that section of humanity had a chance to develop. Now, we've been, let's say 10,000 years. Well, it's practically 12,000 years, right? Agriculture pops up around Göbekli Tepe 11,600 years ago. So imagine us in another 40,000 years. Where would we be?
I'd like to imagine we're on the same path of what we're seeing UFOs to this day, anti-gravity, some sort of, advanced technology that's truly above what we are today anyway. At least you'd like to think so. Or
you would like to think so.
Wipe ourselves out. Either
or,
one.
Yeah, well, I think you would probably do that once or twice along the way.
Yeah.
However, I think as well, we don't understand the cataclysm that happened 12,900 years ago, right? Because there's many ancient cultures that talk about flying objects. They've got the Vimana, you've got the depictions in South America, New Zealand, a lot of India stuff. There's an old Indian Sanskrit manuscript that's thousands of years old that if you open it, it actually reads like a schematic for a rocket.
Right? Oh, I think I know this one.
Yeah. I can't remember the name of it now, but it is out there, right? So I wonder the level of technology that we actually got to. But as far as UFOs are concerned, or extraterrestrial beings, I mean, what are the gods, mate? Like what the Nazca lines, only the gods can see them.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of our religion's sort of based off, I like to think. Because if you see something that's way superior than yourself, you're sort of basically treating them like a god, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's where a lot of our religion is based off that, because they can do amazing things. They're so advanced to us. They can do healing. I don't know if you've ever watched what's that movie? The Orville.
The Orville, no,
show on Disney. It's it's a comedy based off Star Trek, basically, like the spacey sort of shit there.
I've seen it. I've seen shorts of it. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Seth MacFarlane from Family Guy, he made that.
Yes,
and he actually put an episode in there where they've gone into like a sort of a civilization that's sort of like set in like medieval sort of times, and they've come down with their ship. They're sort of like doing a bit of a scout out through it and that sort of stuff. And one of these little girls sort of hurt themselves there, so they get their technology there and sort of help her along. Next minute, she's a god, and it sort of makes you wonder, like, did something play a part in that, like something similar like that play a part in the history of our mankind, where they've come down that sort of helps humans, but like not play a massive influence because they don't want to influence it that much, but they played a part there where they could see that, something that you'd think a god could do.
Well, I got a couple of things to say to that. Number one, Bruce Fenton has done some very interesting work on an alternate origin theory. Have you heard of the out of Australia theory, where basically we didn't come out of Africa, we came out of Australia? And there's actually more evidence to support that than you'd think. But I mean, one of the races came out of Australia. I think you can, there's four distinct races on the planet, I think. And one of the races potentially came out of Australia. And there's a guy called Bruce Fenton, but he's like Valerie Burrows. She's fairly old now, but she'd be very interesting. She'd be very interesting to talk to. I haven't approached her because she's pretty old. However, she's got a lot of videos and stuff out there on the Palladian theory. I mean, what do you know about the Pallades? Have you would have heard about the Palladians?
Yeah, I've heard of them. I haven't really touched much on them. Like, I think that's the Viking race, isn't it? Like the ones with all the blonde hair and.
Yeah, they're potentially Elven. That
Yeah,
was
that's it.
something
Yeah.
I heard the other day as well. So long story short, now this is the physical evidence, okay? And now with my flash new camera, this here is, I'll see if I can get a bit closer. This here is australite tektite, okay? That's what that stone is there,
Right.
okay? Now that is a tektite that you can find in the outback everywhere in Australia. Now it's all weird shaped. A lot of it's like teardrop shaped, and there's interesting shapes to it. I've got some pictures here actually I could show you. It's like button shapes, but that is a piece of it as well. Basically, 780,000 years ago, there was there was a crystalline structure in low Earth orbit, right? And NASA will confirm this, okay? Because you can find australite tektite everywhere, okay? In fact, what are we doing, mate? We better use some modern technology because I can actually show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so see that there?
Mm-hmm.
That there is australite tektite, okay, where all the crosses are, okay?
Okay.
See, these are the different tektites, right? You see that 0.8 million years ago or 780,000 years ago. Something fell into low Earth orbit 780,000 years ago, okay? And a lot of them look like that, okay? They're like button types.
I think I've seen that before, actually.
You probably would have. Now, the reason they look like that, and the reason I say something was in low Earth orbit, because it fell into the ground. I mean, when a meteorite comes out of the sky at 15,000 k's an hour and just smashes into the ground. These things didn't. They just sort of fell out of the sky and they're in doodle-doodle. They get their little balls like that one there, their little buttons like this, right? They just fell out of the sky, okay? Story goes that, so the indigenous, there's another couple there. The indigenous, that's Stonehenge. So the indigenous story goes, right? And not just the indigenous story of Australia, but the indigenous story of multiple cultures around the planet is the seven sisters of the Pallades got chased by the three brothers of Orion across the stars to Earth, okay? Now, theoretically, this crystalline structure was a spaceship, and it was the Palladians. And something was wrong with their planet. They were trying to adapt to our planet. They were upgrading the hominids that were on this planet. Now, Homo sapiens sapien are quite interesting, right? Our genes have hyper-developed over the last million years, like 6 times. And mainly, it's in the prefrontal cortex, our ability to communicate, doing exactly what we're doing now, critical thinking, that sort of stuff. And we sort of evolved to be as big as we could be, to evolve to the size we can evolve to. And a lot of other things, like a chicken's a chicken, man. Chicken's been a chicken for 20 million years, for what they reckon. Whereas we have changed, accelerated since 780,000 years to now. Theory is the Palladians upgraded us. The spaceship exploded in low Earth orbit, which what gives us the australite tektite, and crashed into Australia, basically. Now, the work that Bruce Fenton done, he's like, okay, so in theory, if something exploded in low Earth orbit, there'd be evidence on the moon. We could talk about the moon's a whole different subject. However, theoretically, in the rock samples that were brought back from the space missions, there was australite tektite, except they didn't call it that because it was found on the moon. So there's evidence both sides that something exploded in low Earth orbit, and that is the creation story the Palladian versus Orion is not only the indigenous creation story, but most indigenous cultures across the globe have a very, very similar story, right? And they either align to the Palladian or they align to the Orion. Okay. So as the story goes, the Palladians and the Orions were teeing off on each other on Earth. Okay. And this is the shortened down version. The space police came and said, righto, if you don't knock it off, forget about your piddly little weapons. We're going to throw rocks at the planet. Okay, you've got X amount of time to sort it out. At about 770, I think the story goes, you've got 5,000 years to figure it out, or you're done. And the story goes that 775,000 years ago, there is evidence of a multiple impact bombardment on 4 separate sides of the planet. Now, this is all, you can look this up on NASA. This is not, casting the stones type stuff, right? 4 sides of the planet got hit by 4 separate impacts at the same time. Do you know the chances of that happening?
Very slim.
Very,
so it's going to be one side, or
slim.
at least going to be one
or
major impact.
Skim across the top or whatever. Yeah, exactly, right? Nothing's going to hook around and hit us a few times, right?
Yeah.
And those 2 things are real evidence. That something that was a crystalline structure, crashed into the planet, but then if you connect all the indigenous creation stories, they actually match it up, right?
Yeah.
And they don't really know how we got upgraded. You look that evidence up. It's a long-winded, lots of big words, but if you look at it critically, read it critically, it's all bullshit. Okay? They don't know why we're conscious, Anthony. Why you're Anthony and I'm Triffon. They don't know. Right? They can measure neurons in the brain and all that sort of stuff, but why am I me and you're you? They have no idea.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things we're never really going to really understand or know till we actually sort of get that grade of technology where we can actually sort of find the origin, or unless, these beings actually come in and go, g'day, we're your mum and dad, I've always heard theories like, 2 planets colliding sort of thing, like that's created the moon, like it sort of cracked in half and, probably became the moon and the rest of it became the Earth itself. And
there's some very interesting stuff in the solar system, man. Mars has been hit by something catastrophic, right? Half of it, Mars is like a half-peeled orange, right?
Yeah.
And they're finding water on Mars. Once upon a time, there would have been an atmosphere on Mars, right?
Yeah.
And I was saying the other night, we're doing some stuff actually in Earth's Forbidden Secrets about Mars. That's why it's fresh on my mind. But I was saying on their podcast last week that the pictures that are coming off Mars are very interesting, mate. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll repeat what I said. It's sort of like I get sort of sets of 30, like, oh, look at the evidence on Mars, and probably like 25 out of 30, I'm like, yeah, I don't really see what you're seeing, but maybe 5 out of 30, I'm like, that is very interesting. That looks like a wall. That looks like broken down something. You know what I mean? Like that looks like some sort of wreckage. As I said, what if 1% is true, mate? Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's like that image there, like the doorway. That's interesting.
Always interesting, yeah.
Like, yeah, I know, like shadows and can create a lot of illusions there, but it looks too perfect to be a natural phenomena for it to create something like that.
Well, that came across my feed through a couple of different channels. I mean, that's the interesting thing about the internet. When it works for you in a good way, you get all this weird stuff straight up. You know what I mean? And I had that come across my desk, and I'm like. And I knew where it come from, and I sent it. The first thing I messaged back was like, "Is this real?" And they're like, "Yes, it is real." I'm like, "Okay, well, that is weird.
Yeah,
it's an anomaly, right?" I mean, the big question that I've got, and we've never made it to the moon here at the UTC. 5 years we've been promising an exploration to the moon. We have never made it. However, why haven't we been back to the moon? Right? You want to build a spacefaring civilization. You use 2/3 or 3/4 of the fuel breaking the Earth's atmosphere. Yep. The moon is full of elements and minerals and all sorts of stuff. Why are we not mining the moon? I mean, surely it's worth some money, right? I mean, you want to just go back to capitalism? And if we're going to be a spacefaring civilization, it's a hell of a lot easier to take off from 1/4 of the Earth's gravity than it is anywhere else.
Yeah,
Why haven't
exactly.
we, what's on the moon and why haven't we been back?
Yeah,
So
well,
back to you.
Elon wants to go
What
to
do you, what do
Mars.
you,
Like, why Mars of all places? Like, it was taken like 30 years to get there or something. Probably less than that. I mean,
I think what Elon's going to do is all of a sudden he's going, oh, we invented hyperdrive.
yeah, yeah, wouldn't that
You
be
know what I
cool?
mean? Like, yeah, I think, yeah,
That dude's an alien, though. He's got to be. He's got to be some
he's,
sort of dealings going on
yeah,
there.
it's some weird stuff going on there. I mean, he could be an eccentric genius. However, yeah, there's some weird stuff going on there. But he's the first to deny, isn't he? I mean, he's been on the JRE a couple of times. Oh, if there was
Yeah,
aliens, I'd know. But it's like,
yeah. Would you tell us though?
yeah, would you exactly right? How many contracts have you signed? I mean, what do you think about the tech? Do you think we've got tech? What do you think about whatever it is, the Area 51? I was trying to think of the Bob Lazar one. It wasn't Sector 4 or whatever it was.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Doesn't matter. I mean, do you
Yeah,
think we've got tech? Do you think
we've
there's
definitely got the tech there. Like if we've found crafts that are above us, we would have back engineered them to some degree. We wouldn't have mastered it because certain elements probably we haven't come across yet to that'll that we need to go and power these things.
Mm,
But I definitely feel like we got some sort of concept there of the technology that they have. Like when you think about when we're talking about historical evolution of man, we were sort of stuck in like a steam age, or for hundreds of years,
yeah.
and then before World War I, we started getting the oils and engineering into diesels and stuff like that. Started powering motors and whatnot. But it wasn't really till when was that? 46. Roswell when happened was that 46?
47.
47. There you go. It wasn't really till Roswell, and then a few years later, we started getting like microchips, and started getting CDs and microwaves and all that sort of stuff
Mm.
started punching through, and
There was a leap in technology during
it was
that
a
period.
massive leap. Now everyone's just been improving that technology,
Mm,
and it's always been like a slow release on whatever the government's come up with,
mm.
back engineering or whatever they sort of figured out, and gone, oh look,
Mm.
we can sort of make use of this, and you know,
Yeah, it
technology
is
went a big
interesting.
boom.
It is interesting. I mean, it hasn't. It hasn't. I mean, jet technology really hasn't changed since the 50s.
Yeah,
You know, I always say, this is the technology thing. It's like in 1957, you could order a Chevy Bel Air, a Cadillac Eldorado, I should say, with cruise control, air ride suspension, air conditioning, electric seats, electric mirrors, electric windows, a crude GPS system, and the best stereo of the day. What's changed apart from the stereo's gotten better? You know what I mean? Like
mm.
that hasn't fuel injection, all that
Yeah,
sort of stuff. 1957, right? There's just been an involvement of the same technology, and there's been a look. I reckon honestly, the oil, the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and those the oil barons of the early 1900s. I think they hamstrung technology a little bit because I mean, like I said, there's the guy that invented the magneto motor that ran off the Earth's magnetism, right?
yeah,
Which I've said that for years, right? Magnets, right?
yeah,
Magnets are the answer, man. Okay, you want to talk about how do we move giant stones? I think some sort of magnetism, amongst
yeah,
other things, right? Um, but that's gone. There's the guy that invented the engine in Adelaide, the ceramic engine that ran off water that was just as powerful as a 202 back in the 70s. He got a handshake deal and he crashed into a tree. And it's the only tree within 10 kilometers, mate. These guys don't know how to drive, man. They make these incredible inventions and then they crash into the only tree for
yeah.
5Ks.
Yeah, it's weird. A lot of people seem to have gone missing throughout the history there when they've done this massive invention that will ruin the monopoly train, basically.
Yeah, the narrative, man. And then we can't ever, if something has become quite clear to those of us that are somewhat aware over the last few years, there's a narrative. There's always been a narrative at play, but we had no idea how much control they had of the narrative, and now we've seen it. Right?
Yeah,
There's no denying it now. We understand, and that makes you question even more. I mean, you talk about World War II. There's some very fascinating photos of like Nazi UFOs. I mean, you would have seen some of that stuff.
yeah. The Foo Fighters.
Yeah, well, that's where it started. It's yeah, I mean, it's so. I think the key, you said something earlier that I think probably covers it all. How much has been hidden? What is real, mate? What is
Yeah.
history? What is truth? Um, I called my podcast "Unlocking the Code" because we're trying to unlock that code, mate. And we're left with breadcrumbs. It's like we've got a jigsaw, Anthony,
Yeah.
but there's no pictures, right? We don't know what the jigsaw looks like. We've got all these pieces, but none of them have got the picture on this. We're looking at the cardboard back, right? And we've got to figure out what it is.
Yeah.
And then flip it over when it's finished. You know what I mean?
Well, that's it. Like you even mentioned earlier, like the world leaders, like who's controlling the world in the background there? Like it sort of makes you wonder what's the purpose of controlling the world to follow this one narrative and hiding the truth behind it. Like
yeah,
what's the scary part of everyone knowing and being free to sort of rule their own lives? Like where's the issue in that? I don't understand like why we can't have our own freedom to choose our own sort of path and how we want to live our life. Like why's it got to be order?
well, it's pretty simple, mate. Fear and control and divide and conquer are very, very effective tools.
Oh, definitely.
And history is written by the victor. Right? That's the other thing we need to say. We need to understand as well. History is written by the victor, and it goes back to the schooling system. Everything, like, it's all been designed. There's a narrative behind it, and what is the advantage? I don't know. I mean, ultimate power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. I don't know. It's like, I could sit here and say, oh, I don't think that I would do what those guys are doing, but I don't have that kind of power.
Yeah.
We all humans are fallible, aren't they?
Yeah.
But I think they're attached to this materialistic nature. I mean, here's a theory, right? Here's a theory. So 12,800 years ago, massive cataclysm, okay? So prior to the cataclysm happening, like there is now, as we sit here and have this discussion, mate, there is tribes in Papua New Guinea that have never met a white man, okay? So, all types of civilization exist on this planet, along with us zooming across Queensland and having a conversation, okay? So it's not hard to believe that maybe it wasn't all just one big, massive science, spirituality, builder culture. Maybe there was a materialistic culture as well that evolved, side by side with this spiritual culture, the builder culture. And who's going to survive a cataclysm? The people that are worshipping the stones, or the people that can build a boat to survive the cataclysm? Right?
Yeah, definitely builders.
Exactly. Right. So this materialistic society, let's say whoever survived the cataclysm has designed the society that we live in, Anthony.
Yeah.
And they've also done they've almost systematically destroyed the evidence and denied any of the evidence that this previous civilization existed. Okay. So what if it's I don't know, you would have to say that the darker side of the two civilizations is the one that survived the cataclysm, and we are the ancestors of that. However, people like yourself, people like myself, and Grubb and Lee and these other boys that we're all connecting into, we have a different calling. We know that there was something else, right? Right? It's like you look at these UFO encounters and there's something to this stuff, right? You're not sure what it is, but you need to know, right? Yeah. And I'm the same with the megalithic stuff and the stuff written in stone and, the symbolism and all that sort of stuff. There's stuff there. Like there's something there. And maybe we are the ancestors of the other side. Maybe it's a genetic memory that we must be curious. But whoever survived the cataclysm and rebuilt civilization did not want this civilization to understand the civilization that came before us. And I think that's a big part of it. And because when you look into my research, man, it's hard to deny that it's been a systematic destruction. It's really difficult to deny that. You talk about stuff in Egypt where there's stuff just chipped off walls, different types of hieroglyphs and paintings and all sorts of stuff, You talk about the systematic destruction that's happened here in Australia, the complete lies of history of the Indigenous and how advanced they were. and all these sorts of things. Like they just flat out didn't tell us, and they just literally bulldozed it. Like that's literally what they did, and yeah, we're having our true history and our true understanding hidden from us. However, ultimately, mate, why? Because you said why. What's the point? Control. You know, when you've got control of 8 billion people, you know, I mean, the powers that be literally convinced 6 billion people to take a needle over the last 12 months.
Yeah.
The fuck did they do that, man? You know what I mean?
Yeah. For the greater humanity, you know?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
look,
And logistically, how did they do that? Just for the record, how did they make 6 billion vaccines in 6 months? Just walk me through that production process and tell me it wasn't pre-planned. However, anyway, we won't go there. But there's a darker narrative that seems to be behind this stuff, and it's guys like us that are trying to look beyond the veil. We're trying to see past that, because yeah, it seems to be a systematic destruction.
yeah.
You know, I mean, you would. I mean, I've got it up now, so I could show you. You know, that's Australia's Stonehenge, mate. That
Yeah, I've seen
existed
that.
in. Yeah. Well, I know Richard, the guy that found those documents. He's a close friend of mine.
Yep.
And that's a computed depiction of the survey documents.
Done well.
You know, that existed in Mullumbimby in 1946. Right? You know, there's literally standing stones and standing stone circles all over northern New South Wales and all over Australia for that matter.
So what did you say was 1946 when it was discovered?
No, 1946 it was bulldozed.
Oh,
It was
bulldozed.
it was surveyed in 1936, prior to World War II. But
That's
it's
a
interesting,
shame.
right? It is a shame. But it's interesting. You talk about World War II and the narrative changing. If you look at the books and the stuff you want to read, man, are in the 30s, right? You want to read the stuff that comes from the 1930s prior to World War II, because obviously during World War II, number one, a lot of stuff got bombed and destroyed.
Yeah.
However, a lot of the thought processes about history and all that sort of stuff changed dramatically coming out of World War II, right? They became null and void. And the current narrative that we are under and the one that we were taught at school is the one that now exists. You know?
Yeah.
You know, I heard a terrible, terrible story the other day that apparently one of the bombing ranges somewhere in Western Queensland too is actually a sacred site where there was stone huts. Because I mean, this is what people don't understand. The Indigenous Australians had stone huts, they had villages, they had agriculture, they had, you know, they were advanced in their own way. And yeah, one of the most sacred sites is actually a bombing range. And that's about all you need to know.
Yeah, it's a shame. Like, you know, like throughout, like, well, growing up, you sort of are always on the assumption that, or, you know, keep being told that the Indigenous were always just rock and stick throwers, you know, like real
exactly,
cavemen.
Yeah. Exactly.
But like, they've got a beautiful culture behind them. And it
Mm-hmm.
is a shame that they were repressed so much throughout the history.
Destroyed, massacred, genocide is genocide's not an is a decent word.
Yeah.
You know, and again, there's a lot of mysteries there. Like there's early explorers that say they came across a tribe of not fair skinned, but like tanned, red-headed Indigenous people that spoke English.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and this is in the 1700s when they were exploring Australia.
Holy jeez!
Right. You know, we've got no idea, mate. You know, you talk about, the Indigenous talk about portals. You know, you wander into a portal in Kakadu and you come out in the Grampians.
Yeah.
Right.
I've heard sort of similar stuff like that. You know, like you talk about they talk about the Wangina. I think it's Wangina. Is that how it's pronounced? You know, they're sort of
they're medicine man. Yeah.
no, that's the UFO people. I think
the UFO.
Yeah.
Oh, the one G. Wait, YG. Yeah. I know. Yeah, I'm not sure that's correct, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know they're talking about them coming in through and talking to them and sort of stuff and showing them sort of spiritual guides and stuff like that. You know, and it's an amazing history when you can find someone who actually was told through the generations of these stories. Now, like, that's a hard thing. I want to try and track someone down who actually knows this sort of stuff.
Good luck, man. Good
Yeah,
luck.
and
Yeah,
like
look,
you're saying,
I've tried. I've tried, man. I've tried, and yeah, good luck.
yeah, like it's
Good
just
luck.
been so repressed.
Hmm.
It's such a delicate part of history that's just forever lost.
Mm. Well, you want actually wanted to? I'll show you something to do with the indigenous quickly. So you would have heard of Göbekli Tepe before.
It sounds familiar.
So that's the T-shaped pillars in Turkey, right? So this is one of the Göbekli Tepe pillars,
Yep,
and there
I've
is
seen this. Yeah, I've seen this before. Yeah,
yeah, the Wizard of Wargaya, the great medicine man of Central Australia.
yep,
Right. So similar symbolism. Okay.
yeah,
Again, there's indigenous symbolism. Well, is it in Australian or is it universal symbolism? Right. So there's 32 or 33 symbols, Anthony, that echo around the globe, that are found in rock art on every continent, everywhere. And again, a lot of these indigenous creation stories are about Palladians. They're about extraterrestrial beings coming down from the stars to help them. You know what I mean? Like that's literally what we're talking about here. And yeah, the repression of the society and how we actually truly understand it. It's hard to grasp, and it is quite disappointing.
yeah,
And as to who are these people now? Who is this our ancestors coming back to say good day? But we're not at the point where they can interfere, because that's the Star Trek thing. Rule number one is you can't interfere with an evolving race.
yeah. Can't influence in any way.
Yeah, you can't give them technology that moves them forward.
Yeah,
And it's fascinating stuff, man. Because the reality is we don't know. I think and I think the modern society doesn't like that. They don't want to say that we don't know. That's why they say we do know, whereas in truth we don't know anything. It's
yeah. Well,
so
like I
many
said
mysteries.
earlier, I wasn't sure. Well, we don't know where these beings are coming from or where their origin is, sort of thing. And the theory is like they are a terrestrial beings from an earlier civilization. It sort of makes you wonder, like, if they are an earlier civilization, surely they would have learned something from history. History shouldn't repeat itself because you should have learned from it. Obviously, we
At
are
some
human; we
point, you
make
would think
mistakes.
so, yeah.
But if these are an advanced race that have, already been here, and they sort of replanted the seed or something. I don't know. Why haven't we learned from that history to, progress human nature into a more civilized sort of?
Isn't that's the golden question, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, like why aren't
I
we
don't,
united? Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. Look, I think the majority of us would like to be, and 99% of people are cool, right? I didn't get to why. Why can they control us, right? Because it's not necessarily why do they control us. It's really about why can they and how can they and how. I mean, the mass formation psychosis that I saw happen over the last couple of years was unbelievable, and to observe it and witness it has been, if it wasn't such a scary thing, it was a very interesting social experiment. Okay, and because what they've done, Anthony, is they've externalized the God self. Okay, so what is our purpose, mate? What are we trying to do? We're trying to, in our own way, I made a post the other day about spirituality, and spirituality is individual. Okay. I would say that you're probably experiencing your own spirituality doing your passion, finding out about these things. That is your, and you would know, there's times in the middle of nowhere, mate. And I know I spent 16 years out there where there's just a perfect moment and you are one with the environment around you. And it's an amazing, beautiful experience. And you know what I'm talking about.
yeah,
And that's spirituality, man. That's you becoming one with the earth that you are on. And it's in those moments that you feel unbelievable, right? It's like, I feel so good. This world's amazing. I'm amazing. Everything's awesome, right? That moment that you feel that's when you're tapping into the God self. And that is the thing that they've been trying to suppress. right? And it's the fact that we have the power, right? You are God, I am God, we are God, right? So basically, the church is, God loves you, but He's broken. He needs your money, and also that, you'll never attain the purity of Jesus or Allah or whoever, right? It's the same story. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And that's not what it's about. What it's about, man, is about you achieving balance within you, right?
Yeah.
And that's what they're trying to suppress, right? And I think the builder culture, this previous culture, this science, I think the builder culture for me, if I look at the symbolism and the astronomical alignments, and the seems to be a lot of ritual, but also beautiful culture around this one of these cultures that previously existed. I think it was the last time that science and spirituality were one, mate. I think there was a merging and an understanding, and through that would be understanding of self, because you can find that balance, right? The dark, the light, the masculine, the feminine, that's it. And that's what we're all trying to do. That's all of us in our own way. It doesn't matter which way you get up the mountain, but that's where we're trying to get to.
Yeah.
And that's why they've suppressed it, right? And, what if, for, I know, shits and giggles, that when you attain God self, we know about anti-gravity tech. We understand and we can see the energy of the earth and the magnetism, and we don't need to, we've both been in the game, mate. We know what those big holes do and the damage that they do, and you know what I mean? Like, you can't deny that stuff, right? We do better now with our environmental things these days, trying to clean it up when we're finished. But, back in the day, we definitely didn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's not the way, man. You know what I mean? The earth provides us everything we need. We've just looked past it, okay? There's another interesting theory that I heard years ago, where in the 1700s and stuff, where there was a bit of a warming period and we had extra, we started to, the Industrial Revolution, the Renaissance, these sorts of things were coming around, and we sent all these explorers out into the world to see what was out there. And when they came back, they're like, listen, what we're doing is wrong. There's amazing people out there that can do these amazing things with all this stuff, and you've got no idea how beautiful and the amazing things and the energy and all this sort of stuff. And by that time, we'd invented the light bulb, and we just said, no, shut up, we know what we're doing. And through that, we didn't listen, right? We didn't listen to what we were being told. And I think it's come to now with the internet and with the technology and with the, with a certain generation, I think, our generation. I mean, how old are you, mate?
35.
35, yeah. So I'm 39. So, our generation, we had dial phones when we were kids. We had the rotary phones when we were kids. We used to write letters, you know what I mean? We saw that stuff, and we've rode the technology wave out. And through that, I think there's a level of critical thinking that the next generations with nothing but technology don't have. And we're getting to the age, and we're looking, and we're like, hang on a minute. There's more to this, right? There's more to life. There's more to this materialistic, capitalistic bullshit. There's something greater out there. And because we can think critically, I imagine you yourself with your encounters, you're starting to see patterns, right? You're starting to see patterns. You're starting to see experiences that line up, different variations. And that's all it is with the other research. And that's our gifts. That's our gifts coming to the fore. That's us stepping into our power, being who we are. And they don't want that, right? They don't want that. And yeah, they seem to have a pretty sinister plan that's playing out pretty well at the moment, but we'll see how we go, mate.
Yeah. What the end goal is beyond me.
I don't know, man. The thing is, I can't engage anymore. I can't. Right? I got to live my life.
Yeah, that's it. And that's one of the big things about our generation, Just like you're saying, we've seen past this technology thing. We sort of appreciate the history that we've sort of grown up with. You look back in like the 60s, 70s, everything was a straight agenda. Everything was the same through. It was like a bit of a break for people having a bit of freedom, people partying Yahoo, and I probably should say more like the 40s and 50s, or 30s, 40s, 50s. They were like a real straight agenda sort of thing,
Yeah.
Women were in the kitchen, that was their life.
Yeah.
Blokes went to work.
Yeah, there was a structure.
Yeah.
But you know, but with us, mate, we've seen every major institution now is full of shit.
Yeah.
Right? Church is full of shit. Politics is full of shit. The bank's full of shit. Sports full, Olympics is full of shit. It's all crap,
Yeah.
right? And there seems to be, so if it's all crap, and then they're like, oh yeah, just so you know, UFOs are real. Yeah, we put it on page. We put it
Just
on.
you can't throw that out there.
Yeah, we put it on page 10 in the NT News just to let everyone know.
Yeah.
And you got to wonder. It's like they throw it out there, but there's that much lack of respect. What's the word? We
No
don't
trust.
believe them. No trust, right? So it's like, even though they've said that they're real, as I say, the more they come out and say they're real, the more I'm questioning whether they are. To be honest, right?
Yeah, no, it's fair. Look,
Because,
I totally understand that. Because like they've lied to us all this time about saying there's no aliens, there's no crafts or anything like that. They've lied about Roswell. Like, how much truth can they be giving us about what they know or what they have? It does go both ways. But then when you look at the history that people like you, myself, and others, like researching into this sort of stuff there and trying to figure out what the hell is out there, like it's hard to sort of deny what they know.
Oh, they definitely know. This
Yeah.
is the whole point, isn't it? I mean, they definitely know. There's no doubt about that. It's like, yeah, I think there's that. I love memes, right? I've got a meme problem. There's like thousands of memes on my phone. It's an issue, right? And one of them is, why don't you trust the government? It's like MK Ultra, like, and it just goes through a list of all the conspiracy theories, the Gulf of Tonkin, It's like, and they're the ones that we know about.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and it's hard. But the problem is too, Anthony, is we haven't learned. Why can't we move forward collectively? And me and you have a discussion about this. You know what I'm talking about. You're vibing. We're understanding. Why can't we make 6 billion people understand that? Because they're not ready. They haven't learned for whatever reason. The system has been designed to create slaves, basically.
Yeah.
And it's done a real good job. I mean, yeah, we're not in chains anymore, but tell me what a credit card is. You know what I mean? You think no one cares, mate? Stop paying your bills. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, they'll definitely see you soon enough. That's for sure.
That's right. Yeah, you don't think no one loves you? Stop paying your bills. You see people.
It's probably the only love you can get sometimes.
Absolutely, mate.
So, oh yeah, I got a phone call. You beauty.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like as I say, we're old enough. We used to get letters, mate.
Yeah.
The only letters you get these days are a bill. You know what I mean?
Pretty well.
Unfortunately, my nan passed away, so I don't get Christmas cards anymore.
Oh, bugger. Yeah, and I still get Christmas cards anywhere. It's good. And they're all handmade too, mind you.
Mm-hmm.
It's bloody awesome, like the art that goes. So it's not my nan, but it's the missus, her grandparents, and that they all hand make their stuff still. And it's like,
it's beautiful,
brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
Lost
top
art.
notch stuff. And that's the thing too. Like you look at our lifestyle now, like we're so reliant on technology, and we sort of all that sort of arts and crafts and all that, the old school sort of stuff, making
manual
clothes, knitting, all that sort of stuff. It's all gone. It's gone, a dying sort of a dying. What do you call
art,
it?
Art, dying culture.
Yeah, it's sad. Technology is a great thing. Like, don't get me wrong; it's absolutely amazing.
Oh, look, it gives us the ability to do what we're doing now.
Yeah.
However, you're totally right. I mean, it's, we could say we're not addicted to our phones. However, we are, right? We know we are. And yeah, I mean, it's a hard thing. Like, I've got kids and, I really do try and think about, teaching them manual skills. I'll teach them how to make fire, teach them how to use tools, teach them all these sorts of things, I mean, unfortunately, there's a lot of, 20-year-old men out there that if they got a flat tire in their car, they literally call RACQ.
Yeah, isn't that a shame?
Right? That happened at one of the work I was at. One of the young fellows was like an intern in the office. And he's wandering around the car park on his phone. I noticed his tire was flat. And I'm like, mate, what's going on? Oh, I've got to call the RACQ. I don't know how to change a tire. I'm like, mate, give me 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Where's your keys? He wouldn't let me change it. He's like, oh, no. I'll just get RACQ to do it.
Wow.
I'm like, man, okay, you're on your journey, dude. Like, But yeah, that's there's that meme, 50 years ago, the operator's manual for a car used to tell you how to adjust the valves. Now it
Yeah.
tells you not to drink the battery acid.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean?
It's stupid shit like,
Yeah.
common sense has gone out the window pretty much.
Yeah, well, I say that because I told you I was a teacher,
Yeah.
and one of the things that I say is like there's a few things that have gone the way of the dodo, mate. And on that list is common sense. That's been gone for ages, man. Like, I don't know when that's coming back. Critical thinking left the building in 2020, doesn't seem to have made its way back in yet.
Yeah.
And, personal responsibility is another one, mate. This he said, she said bullshit. And that's how come, we can just whinge about it. And you talk about that old school stuff, mate, like the work ethic, the get up and go. And, not all the stuff from the old school was good. It definitely wasn't, right? And then I think there's a way to merge the old and the new and be a bit more productive and have a bit more objective understanding of the world. However, integrity's gone, mate. There is no such thing as integrity anymore. Abusing people on the internet that you don't know, you've never met, and you probably don't even know what you're fucking talking about anyway. That's not integrity.
Yeah.
Right? Integrity's doing the right thing regardless, but we don't know what that is anymore. And it's all of it comes back to a form of control. It's hard not to see that. It does. I mean, the materialistic society, everything's made in China. I mean, think about that. If we were to look around both the rooms we're sitting in now, what in these rooms? I mean, look, I do have some Australian Indigenous stuff there, so that was definitely made here.
Yeah.
However, what else in this room was actually made in Australia?
Yeah, honestly, there probably wouldn't be much in this room here. Probably maybe like the paper or some of the kids that they made their art stuff with from Australia. That's probably about it. Or a bit even put my kids made this. These feathers are probably from China.
I was going to say the feathers would be from China.
Yeah. Even the cup, probably the paper cup too. But
yeah, probably. Yep.
It is like we're so reliant on other countries there, and that's the thing. Like, I don't want to try and get the politics and the structure of Australia, but Australia's
we
lost
go
its
where
way.
we go, mate. We go.
Australia's lost its way. Like we could have been a self-sufficient bloody country.
Yeah, there is no. We're both been. You're in oil. I was in oil and gas and gold. You're in coal.
Yep.
Let's dispel a few myths right now. Australia is not anywhere near running out of oil. Australia is not anywhere near running out of coal or gold or gas or oil, any of that stuff. In fact, we could be a completely self-sustaining country and have stuff to spare.
Yeah.
That is the honest truth about every single resource that exists on this country.
Yeah, we pretty much got everything.
Yeah, and we're told other ways, right? And what's fascinating about the oil, some of the boys are going back checking the holes from the 80s, remembering that oil is dead dinosaurs, right?
Yeah.
These holes, these wells that were empty, sucked dry in the 80s, have refilled themselves because the processes continue to evolve, right? So there's oil everywhere, right? Again, we go back to the narrative, and I've said that forever. Why is Australia not a superpower?
Yeah.
Or at least a really big player in the world instead of just, bending over and, I mean, God, Albanese looks like he doesn't have a spine. The man, you would not trust him to back you up in anything, right? If that dude come out and said, I'm going to change your tire, I wouldn't let him.
I don't think he would know how to be honest.
You wouldn't know anyway, but I wouldn't let him. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like, how is that? And the under the table thing, all the things we can't talk about anymore. I never thought I'd say that election fraud in Australia.
Oh, that's definitely going to be play everywhere.
But I'm pretty sure we got fucked a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, I'm connected through millions of people through different networks because of over the last few years. And I don't know anyone who knows anyone who knows anyone who knows anyone that didn't put the major parties last or didn't vote for them at all.
Yeah, no, I put them last for sure.
So how did Labor win by a landslide?
Well, that's the stupid thing about the politics, Like, even I think the same system runs in America. It doesn't matter who you vote for; it's their vote that goes to their major.
Yeah,
that's the stupid part about voting. Like, it should be whoever the majority is, the voted one should be the winner.
Yeah, it's not about preferences. If all the people did not want you in there, get out.
Yeah, that's right.
But look, unfortunately, Anthony, we're living in prophetic times, mate. And you know, people don't. I was saying that in 2020 and 2021, and everyone's sort of fobbing me off. And I'm like, you don't understand, right? Our children's children, they're going to be reviewing our podcast, mate, to
Yeah.
try and figure out what we did and why we did it and where we stood. Because what is happening right now is going to shape the next generations of humanity, and that's our children, and that's the thing that scares me the most. You know what's going to happen, and it does come back to this control. That, you know, it's like us conspiracy theorists, Anthony, are up about 50-0 at this point, mate. You know what I mean? Like everything we said. You know, what's the difference between conspiracy theory and the truth? Oh, it's about 6 months, mate. These days, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's you know, it's insanity. And yeah, I don't know where it ends, man. That's my concern right now. You know,
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of people don't understand it too, because like a lot of the conspiracies are insane, you know, and I think that's what the one things we don't want to trust or believe because of how insane they sound, and because a lot of the evidence isn't right there in front of us to sort of make an opinion on. You know, everything's sort of like from secondhand knowledge and sort of stuff. You know, it's one of those like rabbit holes. It depends on how far you want to go down that rabbit hole, try and figure out which part of that is the truth. And you know, I don't dive too much into them because you know it can take you to a lot of different places there, and I sort of try and stick to the path of what's happening in.
You can only control what you control, man. This is the whole point too, right? And I think, you know, we'll steer away from this stuff now, I think, because, you know, we'll come to an end in the near future. However, yeah, look, something dark is going on, okay? The thing is, mate, is that a lot of the books you see behind me there, and there's another bookcase over here, a lot of those books are history books, as you can understand. And unfortunately, like you said before, it shouldn't. However, history does repeat itself.
Yeah.
And I can tell you where we're at in the game. Because this play's been run before. There's a few more people, there's some technology involved, a few other little bits and pieces, but this is a game that's been run before. And I can tell you where we're at. And I can tell you pretty much what's going to happen next. However, people aren't ready, man. They don't want to know. Okay? You know, I mean, how is it that, like, it's June, 3 months ago, well, sorry, was it 6 months ago, pretty much to the day, 1 million people rocked up to Canberra to protest. And the media said it was 10,000. And no one cares. Right? That is the cognitive dissonance and the psychosis that we're still under, right? You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to even fathom, you know? Look, we've said enough trigger words in this podcast. It'd be interesting to see how far this one goes. But, you know, like COVID was bullshit. And literally within a day, oh, sorry, COVID's bullshit. We probably need to stop doing that.
Yeah.
Ukraine. You know what I mean?
Much.
Like, it was 48 hours, man. The narrative shifted.
It was. Yeah, it's strange, isn't it, when you think about that? Like, just how quickly they just went, oh, attention over here now. And, you know, that's sort of like going back to the UFO thing, you know. US government admits to UFOs flying around. Oh, hang on, COVID-19.
Yeah.
And
it's
same sort of style.
There seems to, again, it comes back around and it comes back again and again to the same stuff, mate. You know, it's hard to believe that there seems to be some sort of dark pedophile cabal that runs the world. However, unfortunately, man, the evidence suggests that is exactly what the fuck's going on. You know what I mean? Like, and that's, and I don't know what to say about that. Like, you know, when I realized that, I'm like, it melted my brain late last year, and I had to step away. So I'm like, there's nothing I can do about it anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Look after my kids, feed my family, do the best that I can, keep doing my research because that's my contribution to this game.
Yep.
And keep going. But I mean, when's enough going to be enough, mate? What will make the middle class stand, Anthony? That's my question.
Yeah. That's the thing too. Like, like all the higher upper ends, the higher class society, the billionaires and millionaires and all sorts of stuff. Like, they have all this power in the world. They can change the world how they want to, benefit everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But yet they don't. It just seems to be like a dick swinging game of who's the most powerful in the world, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a shame, really. Like, that's, I guess that's like what you and me, like, we don't care about that sort of shit. We just want everyone to
just be cool, man.
be cool, yeah. Be understanding, be respectful, and good to one another. That's pretty much. It's not that
Love is the
big
answer,
an ask.
man. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. And you're right. I don't know what it is. I mean, again, all this stuff we can't talk about. There's still people in the Blue Mountains living in tents from the bushfires that happened in 2019, man.
Yeah. Where's all the support gone?
Well, the Salvation Army took $70 million and didn't give back a cent.
Yeah. No, that's bullshit. Like, I'm glad the media actually sort of covered on that, but there's still that was about as far as it went.
Yeah, it was 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it made people realise and understand, like, oh, if these guys haven't done it, sort of, give a little bit, to these people here. And that was it,
Yeah, but it's like we gave you our money to give to them. Oh, no, we've got to hold it for a disaster fund.
Yeah, it's like, was that not a disaster?
Half the bloody Blue Mountains burnt down. I mean, what are we doing here? But again, like we said, charities are bullshit. Religions, it's all crap.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, or fortunately, we are witnessing the fall of Western civilization as we understand it. We will witness that in our lifetimes, mate. And why are we here? Maybe we're here to bear witness, mate. Maybe that's what we're here to do. We're here to continue our research, right? Because what's going to happen, we talk about here at the UTC, like, as I say, there's hundreds and hundreds of hours of content out there from us here. And, when I sit someone down and they go, what's your podcast about? I'm like, well, you need to sit down. Do you need a drink? Like, we need.
You've got a lot to cover.
We're on a ride here, okay? But they're like, really? Oh my God, seriously? I'm like, yeah, seriously. Like, because I mean, here, and I imagine you do the same. You've weeded out some of the stuff that seems like pretty much bullshit, and you really look into the ones that you think do have substance and understanding, right? And you would look at it from both sides objectively. That's what we do here.
Yeah.
Right? Anything that I talk to you about, I've looked at the other side. I've looked at the counter argument, and I've settled where I've settled, whether that be in the middle or one way or the other. And they're going to come to us and go, when these things, let's pretend for a second that these UFOs reveal themselves. I mean, have you seen some of the videos coming out of like Melbourne and Sydney and all that sort of stuff recently? Like, there's some weird stuff, man. Like on some of the, the UFO site that's on Facebook, there's some interesting stuff coming out. I mean, some of it is Venus. I understand that. However, some of it is very interesting as well. You know what I mean? There's same sort of thing, right? Out of 30 videos, 2 or 3, what is that? You know what I mean? What is that?
It is. And a lot of things do have a lot of explanations behind them. And the worst part is, like, a lot of people don't want to accept the explanation behind it. And I get
they don't want to be objective.
Yeah, I get a lot of criticism about it. And, like, people kind of call me skeptic and all sorts of shit. I hate the word skeptic. It's like, I'm not skeptic. I know they're out there. There's things out there. I wouldn't be doing this shit if I didn't think they were fucking bullshit,
Yeah.
And it annoys me. I'm probably breaking a bone here, like, because
it's all right. It's all right. No, let it go, mate. Let it go. Tell us.
Look, I understand there are things that are out there, but you got to look at things from a logical point of view as well. Cameras lie to you. They can, you get lens flares, you get distortions or pixelations and stuff like that. Cameras aren't fantastic. They're not going to go and pick up remarkable detail of something that's flying past it.
Who knows how fast?
How fast, or understand perspectives. Like, you got an insect that's going to fly past you from a meter. Like, you get your finger like this, mate. You go, past your good from your bloody face. It's going fast, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then if you put it from here and go across there, it's a bit slower, isn't it? Perspectives. And like, that's part of my job when I'm analysing stuff. I've got to look through every single bit of detail and try and get an understanding, try and rule out every single possibility that I possibly can.
Absolutely.
to get an idea of what it could be first before I go and claim it's an alien extraterrestrial craft or something like that.
Absolutely, you've got to do that. Yeah, we do the same thing. You got to sift through. You got to look through the detail.
And
what's
a
the
lot of
counter
people,
arguments? What are we looking at? Yeah,
people get pissed off at me, going, "No, you don't know what you're talking about." And it's like, mate, I've been looking at these things for like, how long have I been doing this now? About 5-6 years now. And I've got people that I've worked alongside with, and I've sent it off to them, and they have a look, and they come up with the same conclusions mostly, and unfortunately, like a lot of it does have an explanation behind it, and I'll be the last thing that I'll be claiming to say to them that yes, it's an alien craft. I will not tell them.
I think if anyone, you definitely want it to be real. That's right. You definitely want it to be real. So
yeah, look, I'd love for it to be real, but unfortunately, like the amount of like photos and images and footage I've looked at over the time, a lot of the things are
most of it's bullshit. Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. And because I'd love to be able to tell them, yeah, look, you got something, but I'm not going to lie to someone just to go and please their
ego,
their agenda and their ego. Yeah, it's sad in a point.
So how many real ones do you think you've seen out of all the stuff that you've looked at?
To be honest, I don't know if any of them are real.
Yeah, right.
Because the detail, like, unless they've got some detail behind them, like that sort of gives a bit of an explanation behind it, that's about all I can go by. Otherwise, someone's got like a little blip in the sky of light that's because nighttime, you can't see anything, or it might be an orb in the daytime and you still can't get any detail because of pixelation and all sort of stuff, or focus is going zooming in and out and making it look all shit.
Yeah.
It's hard to get a grasp on what they're trying to show me. And the lack of detail from these people, like some people, so you're trying to ask questions, like you're not trying to like ask disrespectfully, but you need that kind of detail.
Yeah, you need that information, yeah.
Yeah, and like you're trying to like punch it lightly, just like poke the stick in and go, look, I need this bit more information. I'm not trying to sound like a dick or I'm trying to just give you any discredit on what you've actually seen, but I need to get an idea of what you're actually looked at to see if I can sort of identify it from a logical sense of,
and that you have to.
Yeah, and otherwise, if you've seen it like going from zigzagging, or doing something that defies all logic from our human logic, our technological aspects of things, then you got something if it defies that. And I guess
what about internationally? I mean, there's the one that I think is, I think it's Rio. There's one that I saw, wasn't that long ago. It was in. See, the thing is, because I'm on the page on Facebook.
Oh, there was one there where it's actually from different perspectives as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was like because it was Rio where there's the statue. You know what I mean? And there's a crowd of people, and they've all got different videos, and then these things appear in the sky, and it's not just one person. There's the whole like thousands of them going, oh, whoa! You can hear the exclamations of, what is that? What's going on here? And there's like 3 or 4 different angles that you can see of it.
Yeah.
And they appear in the sky, they sort of dart around a bit and then they disappear again, I mean, that one was interesting.
Yeah, there are interesting ones there, and like some of it like sort of makes you wonder if they're military flares or something like but like unless there's like something that's darting around a little bit, could it be distortion from the video trying to like
someone trying to move the video,
And that's the things you got to look at too, because like people are even taking videos of a star in the sky and not realizing what they're doing. They're sort of moving around, and people are thinking that that's the craft moving around. It's like, no, this is the camera. Like you can move the camera, it's like even just like slightest minute, and the thing's just gonna go flying.
Yeah,
especially if you're zoomed in, and like that's the biggest thing. People just don't understand the technology. And I know I'm sounding frustrated here, but
no, it's okay. It's okay. No, look, you've got to be objective, mate, and I appreciate the fact that you are. All right, I actually respect you more for the fact that you will tell me that you don't think any of them are real, or you think maybe there's a couple that you got questions about.
Yeah.
And I think that's fine. I mean, I'm pretty aware of the stars, right? And astronomical alignments, that sort of stuff. But as you would know, in Queensland, for like 3 months, we didn't see the sun or the moon. You know what I mean? Like it was cloudy night every night for months on end. Then it suddenly cleared up. Okay. And I didn't think about it, right? I'm standing out the back of my property. I'm like, what is that? That is a massive star there. There's another one over there. What is that? And I fully went into overload. That's a big star. That shouldn't be there. I know the sky, blah, blah, blah. Like fully grabbed the telescope, set the telescope up, da, 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 da. And anyway, my mate comes around, was going to do a bit of recording. And he's got the star at me. He's like, dude, it's serious.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh. And then I realized in the 3 months that I hadn't seen the stars, the sky had moved.
Yeah.
So you could see Sirius early in the evening in the west, right? Which is true. You know what I mean? But it was just because the sky had moved. You know, normally, because I mean, most nights I actually walk out the front and I'll have a look at the stars and, you know, beg for a UFO to turn up. They never do. But, I look at the rotation through the year. And yeah, I fell for it as well, man. You know what I mean? Like, oh, what is that? That's a weird star. You know what I mean? It was bloody serious. It was just because the sky had moved and I hadn't noticed because I hadn't seen the stars for 4 months.
Yeah, well, I think you can go, I think from memory, about 8 o'clock, I think from now, you can see Sirius going through on the horizon. And that's the thing a lot of people don't understand too. Like, stars, when they're up above you, they're not as prominent in it. Like, you know, you got the atmospheric illusions. Like, you know, when you get the moon rising up, things are enlarged 10 times what they are.
Yeah.
And then when you get stars come through, they are distorted from the illusion from the atmosphere. So, you know, stars are going off their head just about. Especially, you know, Sirius star goes off its nut. It looks like a space police are out there with the bloody lights on or something. You know?
Yeah, it's crazy. It flashes. It looks like it's rotating. It's all weird.
It's
man.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realise that. And you're trying to explain that to someone. They go, "Oh no, it's not. You're talking shit, you bullshit. You don't know."
A bit like Venus. Venus has been just, you know, mistaked as UFO because it's a beautiful star, Venus.
It is.
You know, it's a beautiful star.
And like planets don't have a twinkle like a star does, but they still do have a distortion twinkle to them when they're like, especially when they're low in the atmosphere, they'll sort of go like a bright reddish, and you know, they don't change colors like stars, but they do have their own. You know,
they
patterns,
definitely do.
But, you know, and look, that's just the thing that people just need to understand. They need to go and start looking more, get an understanding of what is happening in the sky, learn about the technology that they're using to try and capture these things, you know. Even understand, like, you know, even Starlink's getting mistaken as a alien invasion and stuff like that.
Yeah, because it's just it's a line of satellites that cruises across the sky. Yeah.
And I guess that's the thing. Like, look, I'm always happy to go and try and help people that's part of my job, you know, trying to analyze something there and try and give an explanation, but don't get angry at me because I'm not going to tell you what you want it to be. Yeah, I'm not going to
justify. Yeah, you want it to be the next UFO when it's not, and I'm sorry that I want it to be.
Yeah,
you know, we want it to be. There's no doubt about that, but sometimes it's not, man.
Yeah,
sometimes
I give a full explanation of what my opinion is on it, and you know, I say, look, you know, someone's like, for instance, captured what appears to be an insect because, like, going through frame, you can sort of see the wings flapping, you know. And when they're explaining something to me, like, look, I see a silvery sort of looking object from the distance there, you know, and then I try to get my phone out to go and film it, and what I captured was this, and that's what looks to be the insect. And it's like, well, look, what you've captured into what you're telling me could be two different things, you know.
It's true.
It just could be the instance that when you've gone to film this object, the insect's gone through at the same time, coincidentally, you know. It's one of those things. But, like, I'm not denying what you're seeing, but unfortunately what I can see through the footage that you've captured appears to be an insect because of, you know, going through frames.
Because of A, B, C, D,
yeah.
And you start to see the body and the wings and frame by frame, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and so, like, it's like, I'm not going to deny what you're trying to say, explain to me, but it's just what you're showing me
is counter to that. It's counter to that. And look, that's fine, mate. I think you've got to have that critical eye. I think as long as you remain objective, that's all you can be asked to do.
Yeah, look, I'm open to all things, you know, all possibilities. Because, like, you know, this, like I said earlier, like, this world has amazing things going on through it. Like, you know, we've got paranormal, we've got Yowies, we've got cryptids, we've got shitloads of weird things out there that we don't understand. And to say these things don't exist is pretty ignorant.
Absolutely it is, yeah.
Because, like, well, you can't prove that they don't exist. And, like, we can't really prove that they do exist except from witness testimonials, you know? So these people wouldn't be making this shit up for no reason, not for attention seeking, you know? There's people that I trust and I work with, they've got different stories here and there. You know, it's amazing stuff out there.
Mm,
And
absolutely.
so, and yeah, like these people aren't bullshitting. And like even
Oh.
people that I talk through on the podcast, that you can hear the emotions going through them.
Yeah, they saw what they saw. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like you know, it's a buzz for them going back through it because they're reliving it, and like you know, some
Yeah.
of them are getting scared, like oh, you know, like
Oh, you want to hear a trippy story? A couple of the boys had a Yowie experience. What's that episode called? I can't remember what the episode's called. I'll send it to you.
yeah,
But that's another one. You know, those boys saw what they saw. They experienced what they experienced. I had them in the studio. I was looking them in the eye
mm,
and asking these questions. They believed what they saw. They believed what they heard. They were there in that. You know, they took me with them on their journey when they was explaining it. You know, like there's no doubt. However, is it what they think it is? Is anything what we think it is, Anthony? You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's how do we know, mate? How do we know? But listen, man, I really respect your work, and I think you know a lot of these people that you talk to, you know, and when I hear those episodes with the emotion and because I've listened to a fair few, like I like it. I didn't realize there was so many in Australia. And look, we're probably wrapping it up for tonight, but I haven't asked you like 1,000 questions, so you're coming back just so you understand that.
that's all right.
We never got to the sacred grid either, but it's going to
No,
take too long to unpack. So we'll get to that next time as well. But yeah, look, I really respect your work because you're giving a lot of these people that you are taking seriously probably haven't been taken seriously a lot in their lives. And I think allowing them and giving them the platform to tell their story in an open forum without judgment is a very, very important thing that you do, mate. So be proud of yourself for that, man. I really respect it. It's really cool. Where do you want to finish, mate? Where what's one more topic you wanted to talk about? Maybe ask me something. We've been going on about UFOs for quite a while.
yeah, we have.
What would you like me to? What would you like me to finish on? Considering this is a swapcast, you know.
Yeah, well, look, I'm probably more interested in the sort of like the cryptid side of things. You know, like
Mm.
you know, a lot of things are strange, but like, look, thanks for the the appraisal there on the show, and like yeah, look, it definitely helps a lot of people on the coming forward, and just everything that's related to this. You know, people are always encouraged to talk about their stories. So no, it's always a good thing. So thanks for that. But yeah, look, I want to talk about the cryptid things. Like you know, cryptids are a strange thing. Like how much of that's made up, but how much of that is true too. You know, like you know, you got like the Skinwalker Ranch and stuff like that. Australia's got its own Skinwalker Ranch.
Yes.
There's so many weird things out there that can be all related in some way to, you know, Yowies, paranormal,
Mm-hmm.
UFOs. I've always had an interest in that sort of stuff. Like,
Well,
it's
you
scary
can't
stuff, but you know,
you can't leave giants off the table either, mate. I
yeah,
mean, the giant thing is, I scoffed at, you know, one of the, you know, you as you go through your research, you scoff at certain things, and I scoffed at giants for a long time. Like, listen, I don't have the time. I don't know if there was giants, you know, blah blah blah. And you know, through all the time I spent at home over the last couple of years, I started to have a bit of a dig around with giants, and well, there is a lot of evidence of giants, man. Like it's still or 8 foot, 11 foot tall people. You know, whether they're humans or not is a different discussion. But yeah, I mean, you want to go back to what is God? A tall bearded man. What is Jesus? A tall bearded man. What is Zeus? A tall bearded man. What is the indigenous grandfather here in Australia? A tall bearded man. What is, you know, just keep going, right? What is the god in South America? A tall bearded man, right? Same thing, right? Now, before they, before they ostracized the feminine, there used to be the tall bearded man and a long haired, beautiful woman. Tall, long haired, beautiful woman. That was the gods. They are the gods that everyone worships. And by all reports, they were giant. You know, but yeah, Australia's interesting, man. I mean, you've got the big cats. I mean, that's not necessarily a cryptid, but you know, there's always big cats in every single state. There seems to be the same story about the big cats. There's the yowies, the giant lizards, the min lights. I mean, look, you know yourself, mate, spending that much time out in the bush, that the Aussie bush is an interesting place, right? And there's been a few times in my life where I've just been exploring, and you walk into an area And almost immediately is that you need to get the fuck out of here right now. Right? There's just that instinct, right? You've walked into a place that you are not welcome, and it's time to go now. What happens to those people that stay? Right? They disappear, don't they? You know what I mean? There's hanging rock in the Grampians. You know what I mean? Like it's weird, right? There's actually some weird photos of me and my cousins at the hanging rock in when we were kids. So because I grew up in Victoria, there's all sorts of weird caves all over Hanging Rock. Now I don't know. I remember I'm 7, 8, 9 years old, but me and my cousin, we used to run around Hanging Rock, and we would run through one cave and we'd come out on the other side of Hanging Rock. Now I don't remember going through a long cave, but I do know you'd go through a certain cave and you'd come out on the other side. What was that?
Yeah, what happened between that?
What happened there? You know, and I did that a lot. Like, as I say, we would run around and we would go through this cave, we'd come out the other side, and we'd bounce around here. And I remember doing that on multiple occasions. But now I think about it physically, it was one side of Hanging Rock to the other. We did not, you know, and there's been all sorts of disappearances up there. You know, weird stuff happen up there. Weird things seen in the Grampians and out west, and I just don't think we know, mate. But you know, the whole Yowie thing again is sort of something that I scoffed at until I sat across from these guys that I knew and trusted, good friends of mine, and they said this is what happened. Right? They whacked this stick on a stone 3 times, and all of a sudden, bang, 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 comes back. You know, and then like they were shitting themselves here in the refinery. Like I saw what they saw. Again, do they know? Do the powers that be know? I mean, if you think about the giants and the hominids and all that sort of stuff, I mean, you know, the skeletons disappear into these museums and they never see the light of day again. You know, is there a world in between worlds? Is there interdimensional? I mean, these are the things we need to think about. I mean, the skinwalker stuff's creepy. You know, talking to the Lee and the boys, you know, Lux and Patriot on the Occult Rejects have done, I think they're like up to part 6 on Skinwalker, and it's some mind-blowing stuff, right? And, you know, but the classic story I always like to share is like there's those 2 guys and they're watching a certain spot, and one of them's got a night scope, and the other one doesn't. And the guy with the night scope sees a portal open up and this thing walk out of this portable, this being, right? And he's like, did you just see that? And he's like, I don't see anything. He's like, you what? Right? But he saw what he saw, but it's a different light spectrum. We don't see 99% of what's going on around us, mate. You know, like that's the reality, you know? I mean, have you had any cryptid encounters? I mean, I've seen some interesting tracks over the years, and I've been in a few spots where I know I wasn't welcome and I just left. But I've never had any real. I've had spooky experiences in the bush where I think I'm being watched for sure, and there's no way I should be because I mean, you know, mining oil and gas, especially, you know, you're drilling wells out in the middle of nowhere. You know, like it's not like there's anything else for anywhere. You know. So, have you had any experiences like that, or are you just more curious?
Nothing cryptid on that end, no. Well, I've been out bushwalking by myself. I've never had the slightest inkling of not going there. I probably shouldn't go up there because, like, you know, maybe danger factor. Not like the sense sort of thing, like you're explaining, like something's telling me not to go up there. But it's more like I probably shouldn't go up there because, like, you know, it's probably a bit dangerous. You know, try and climb up there or something stupid. But no, it's just always had me curious and wondering on the cryptid side of things, like just what is out there, and you know, like especially the Yowie things.
The Yowie thing's interesting, right? Because what I found interesting is I was doing a bit of contracting work, doing a bit of, you know, working with bobcats and excavators and stuff like that on the side. You know what I mean? A couple of boys I know got a contract, and these are old farmhands, old country boys, right? And this was around the time I was doing that episode, so I was sort of deep in the rabbit hole with it. And yeah, this is an old cow cocky, right? You know, old cow cocky from way back in the day. And I said, oh, yeah, we've got an interesting thing. This guy's talking about yowies. He's like, oh, yeah, yowies. Yeah, no, I know about them. Yeah, we when we used to do the cattle droves up through the north, we used to see these weird stuff at night. We used to have to make sure we just had a fire going all night. We used to make sure that, and we used to keep the cattle in a circle because every now and again they'd take one. Yeah, we seen some stuff like that, and he was just all matter of fact about it. And he's like, oh yeah, when we do the cattle run from the north to the south, there's certain ways you can't go through because we're not supposed to be there. That's their territory. It's not our territory. We go around there. And he was just matter of fact, just telling all these stories. And, not a hint of bullshit inside. He was like, oh, yeah, no, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things out there we just don't understand. And a lot of things has been lost in the history. Like, even like when you think about like with human development with cities and towns and that, like how much of that, territory of yowies or whatever has been lost because of that, or it sort of makes me wonder too, like if they expose themselves, like would we continue on in developing out those ways? Like why hide?
Well, I mean, yeah, they were probably killed off, mate. I don't know. Unfortunately, the human, as we've sort of been loosely discussing all night, is not a real evolved being at the moment.
Yeah.
And I imagine that if they revealed themselves, they would be hunted. I'd imagine. I'd love to say that's not the case, but the evidence suggests otherwise, doesn't it? It's but there's many mysterious things.
There is.
I told a story on a podcast. When my grandfather died, and I slid his coffin into the hearse, and the hearse was a Ford, right? And he was a Holden man his whole life, like a dyed in the wool Holden man. And as I'm literally holding his coffin, I'm sliding him into the hearse, right? And I hear his voice in my head, as clear as a bell. I will swear it was him. And he's like, oh, geez, they could have got me a fucking Holden. And I nearly spoke back to him like, yeah, man, I know. I noticed that, right? As I'm sliding him into the hearse. So what is that? Like, what happened there? Was that me manifesting that because I noticed that and I was thinking about that? But in my mind, his voice is clear as a bell.
Yeah.
And, weird stuff. Like, he had all this port that he had down in the cellar. Talk about paranormal stuff. That night, we're having drinks. He had all this port that he held, and some of it was pretty bad, right? Because it didn't age very well, but we drank it anyway. And the good port, the really good port that he'd kept for so long, there was enough for everyone and one extra glass. I mean, that's a bit spooky to begin with, right? And we put the extra glass up on the top because it was obviously his, we were drinking after his funeral. That glass got emptied, man.
True.
There's no one there that would have touched that. You know what I mean? Because that was for Granddad. There was no one that would have touched that.
That is scary.
But someone drank it. Or someone.
Someone.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
It's spooky stuff,
It's spooky stuff, dude. Like, it's like, yeah, the skeptic would go, and I don't like that word anyway. Objectively, it's like, oh, yeah, no, one of your cousins just drank it. That's what happened. I don't believe so. There's no one there because it was a big thing. It was spooky too because it's like, oh, there's 12 of us. There's enough for 13 glasses or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Well, that one's obviously for Granddad. We'll put that up there, and thanks, mate. You enjoy that. And went about the party, and yeah, it was a couple of hours later. We turned around, that glass was empty.
So, obviously, someone would have seen if someone went up there and grabbed it.
Exactly. Everyone went, "Who drank the port? That's not right." Blah 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 blah, and no one was like, "No, no one drank it." And sort of what happened was, because we were pretty pissed by that stage, let's be honest, right? But what happened is like we sort of started to argue about it.
Yeah.
And then everyone sort of realized that no one drank it and everyone just got quiet. Because I think it was like, oh
shit.
Well, Granddad, he wanted to drink that port for 30 years. At least he got a sip, I suppose. You know what I mean?
Like, what's kicking in?
Yeah. I mean, how do you explain that? Right? Yeah. Same as the Yowie experience that these guys told me about. How do you explain? I mean, those guys went out again, and one of the next times they went out, they took a bag of apples, right? And basically they were very welcoming, right? There was a bit of a, I don't know, saber rattling, for want of a better description, the first time they went out there. It was the second or third time they went out there, and they left a bag of apples out there. And they purposely left the bag of apples on a rock over the road, right, away from their camp, and basically said, they counted the apples, right, and basically said, if you want an apple, they are there, okay? And, next morning, the apple bag is opened and there's 2 apples missing. You're in the middle of nowhere. You're on they're in that Lamington National Park. They didn't see another car the whole weekend. So, who took the apples?
Yeah. It sort of like makes you feel like down the lines of like I think it's very common in Asian culture there, where they'll have food offerings for
absolutely
for the deceased, and there could be a concept too there where that instance where taking the apples or taking the sip of the port, like it could be a connection there with where humans have connected to the paranormal in that way.
Yeah, they've acknowledged that. And that connection. Yeah,
that these things happen.
And maybe once upon a time we knew that connection deeper than we do now as well. That's something that also needs to be taken into account.
Yeah.
I've seen too much weird shit, Anthony, to say that my granddad didn't drink the port or talk in my head or a Yowie didn't take the apples. You know what I mean? I've seen too much weird shit and too much stuff that I question myself, what was that light that I saw for 10 minutes at 140 Ks an hour? If you think about how far did I travel in 10 minutes doing 140, that light never moved. It never changed. And it appeared and disappeared all by itself, right? What was that? But see, I'm okay with not knowing too, Anthony, in a way. If I'm not meant to understand, then I'm not meant to understand. I don't have to send myself around the twist. But I mean, you talk about offerings. There's one thing that we do. You want to talk about what's missing. Pretty much every church, and definitely every major church, not just in Australia, but on a global scale, is built on sacred land.
Yeah.
So what's underneath that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's another rabbit hole there.
What did they knock down to build that church, right? And, one of the things we do when we go megalith hunting, basically, we call it, out into the bush to just have a bit of investigate. We get a few leads here and there and we go and have a see. But we always take an offering. That's what I tell the boys. I'm like, listen, you can believe whatever you want to believe. Bottom line is this: you're on the crew, you bring an offering.
Yep.
Right? I don't care what it is. You will find something. You'll be preparing to come on this trip, and you look at something and go, yeah, that's my offering. Right? And then we give that offering, whether it be a crystal or who knows. It doesn't matter what it is, right? It's whatever. Again, spirituality is individual, right? So you are going to offer what you think you need to offer, right? And here's another trippy story. We went up to Gympie, having a look around there, and one of my brothers, brothers in arms, and he's connected. He knew he should have brought an offering. He just forgot, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, we get to the end of the day, and he's like, where's my pocket knife? Like, what do you mean, where your pocket? It's a brand new Browning pocket knife. Now, I've got one of these knives. We had the exact same knife because I think I got mine first. I'm like, man, these are cheap, but they're really good. You need to get one, right? And so he did. Now, this knife stays in your pocket. Doesn't matter what you do. I've climbed mountains with this knife in my pocket, and it doesn't come out, right? And we get to the end of the day of exploring around Gympie, and his knife's gone.
That's crazy.
And I said to him, you didn't give an offering, did you? He goes, no, man, I forgot. I said, I fucking told you, man. You can't, there's energies that you must honor, right? And there's all sorts of stories about that where people wander into places where they shouldn't wander and they come out and they're crazy, right? Whereas, we do that. There's some ceremony that's involved. If we're about to go into sacred land and we're trying to search for secrets of the past, we'll rub our hands together. We'll do whatever we feel is right. Normally the boys will take, go in directions like, listen, just take 5 minutes and do whatever it is that you feel you need to do. Okay. I normally rub the hands, you know what I mean? Rub my hands in the dirt and just say thank you. And, we're here. We're just explorers. We're not trying to harm anything. And, I give an offering of whatever it is. And it's been all sorts of stuff over the years. However, that's important, right? I do think that, like, we've never had any drama on our trips. We've always given offering. We've always given thanks. Whereas I know some people who've gone, headlong into the bush. Yeah, we took 5 people here and 2 people bounced their heads off rocks and, this person fell over and this happened and this happened. It's like, it's weird, man. Actually, I'll give you a weird paranormal story.
Yeah, go on.
And we might finish with that, eh?
Yeah.
So it's getting late. So I worked up in Papua New Guinea for a long time. And the rig, we're doing geothermal stuff, which is pretty dangerous as it is, steam and all that sort of stuff. And where we were on the edge of the island. And basically, I could show you a picture, but it'd take too long. But there was landslides there. And basically, there'd been a landslide there that had killed 4 blokes. So where we put the rig, we had to employ 70% national workforce, which I think is pretty cool. You know what I mean? Make 70% of the, which had to be Papua New Guinea, which I think is cool. Getting the local boys in. Yep. But they wouldn't work on the rig site until it had been blessed by the shaman. I can't remember the name of the guy, but they're shaman, right? So what we had to do is we had to get a pig. We had to sacrifice the pig, right? Now they wanted to cut the head off and drill through the head into the hole. That's what they wanted to do. But instead what we did is we slit this pig's throat over the hole and let it bleed out. And then basically I was the cultural liaison. It was a weird experience, man. I picked up pidgin pretty quickly for whatever reason. And so I could talk to them. And so I ended up being cultural liaison. I think it cost me 1,000 kina for the pig and for them to prepare it. And so they went away and they cooked this pig for 3 days. They brought it back and pretty tasty, right? I ate some. And then in the night, because we weren't working night shift, right, by then, the rig hadn't fully started up yet. And during the night, we never saw him. The shaman came and scattered the bones around the rig, right, and did whatever he was going to do, right? And as I say, all the white fellas and all the international boys, most of us had some of the pig. You know what I mean? Like we completed our part of the ceremony for whatever that was worth. For however long, that rig was one of the safest spaces you could ever be. No incidents, no accidents, no one got hurt, right? And I mean, like, pipe work falls 15 meters and falls in between 2 dudes. Right?
Wow.
Like, that happened. Like, the close calls that happened were insane. Like, it's like something was going to hit someone in the head and it deviated at the last second and fell on the ground.
Jeez.
Right? To the point where it was an anomaly, because you can measure incidents. Incidents happen, right? Every now and again, something's going to go wrong.
Definitely.
Nothing, man. Right? Now, contrast this. So we were the one rig that did that. Okay, we honored the local spirits, the local energy, whatever. There was 2 other Filipino rigs on the island. Between those 2 other rigs, 4 people got killed, 10 people got seriously injured. Like, these dudes were broiled on the drill floor, man. Like, some nasty, really nasty incidents, right? Nothing, man. Nothing happened to us.
That's
right?
crazy.
To the point where it was odd, right? And here's something else. After we did it, that's just come to me right now. After we did the ceremony, like the big rig pit, right, around the edge of our lay down, we had like the mountain wall. All of a sudden, fresh water comes pouring out of the wall. Now, when I mean fresh water, we're a rig. We got pH testing, pH 7, pure H20, comes pouring out of the wall. Right, to the point where we literally plugged a pipe into the side of the mountain, and I went and got a drink there every day, man. That's where I went and filled my water bottle up.
Wow.
Yeah, and that happened after we did the ceremony.
So you're thinking that these other guys, the Filipinos, obviously
They didn't do it, man. No, they
they
didn't do it.
didn't
No.
respect
Well, they
it.
wouldn't. Yeah, they didn't respect it. They didn't really employ PNG people. They spoke down to them. They were pretty mean to them, actually. Um, we weren't. We were the opposite. We were cool to them. You know, we did. We honoured the energy of the land, and we were repaid in kind.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's weird, man.
It is
It's
weird,
weird.
but it's amazing too. Like, you know,
So it's like when I say that to people, it's like, listen, believe whatever you want to believe. This is the facts. The
yeah,
two other rigs on the island didn't do what we did, and some really terrible, horrible things happened on those rigs. We did what the locals wanted us to do, and we were fine.
yeah.
And there was a landslide there one day too, Anthony, right?
Hmm.
And man, landslides are scary, right? Anyway, where my because I used to run the laydown yard, where my yard was, it collapsed. It's hard to picture, but like I don't know, about a K away is where the edge of the volcano. Like we were drilling in the side of half a volcano. It's pretty dangerous stuff, but the wall of the what was left of the crater collapsed, right? Because we'd had rain forever. This is like up near the equator. And again, that landslide was coming at the laydown yard like you've never seen white fellas run so fast, man. It stopped 5 meters from the yard.
Get out.
Just came to a stop. Why? You know what I mean? Look, and stuff like that happened all the time. All the time. And it's weird, you know? Yeah. So, you know, you can believe whatever you want to believe, but there's some weird stuff out there, man.
Yeah.
And, you know, where are these UFOs coming from? Interdimensional, intergalactic, who knows? But these things do exist. I think that's the bottom line here, mate. You know?
Definitely.
This advanced ancient civilization existed. It did. Doesn't matter which way you look at it,
yeah.
right? And, you know, I think we just got to keep exploring, mate. That's what we got to do.
That's it. And like you're saying earlier, like, you know, spiritual connections can bring us a long way, you know? Like, when you look at through human history, there's always been a spiritual person in every village or human society somewhere along the way. There's always been some sort of spiritual connection with the earth where they're always regarded as a shaman or something, like, you know, there's always someone there of that sort of nature.
Yeah. Yeah. And they see things that we don't, man. You know, and we've all got gifts though, mate. You know, I think, you know, I stumbled upon the research that I'll be doing the rest of my life. And I think you have too.
Yep.
You know, that's us. That's our gift to the people, right? That's, and we just got to keep going, man. Just got to keep going. Well, mate, listen, it's getting late for both of us, so we've got to work tomorrow. So listen, man, I really appreciate your time. Have you got any final thoughts, mate, considering it's your first?
Yeah, no, look, basically, look, keep an open-minded, but also keep your feet on the ground, you know. There's so many different possibilities out there, but don't get too lost in the stars. You know, there's a lot of things out there, and you can sort of lead you off path a bit, but, you know, try and keep a level head about things, you know. That's about the biggest thing I can say.
Well, I think there's the whole, you know, you can't reach for the stars, mate, because you never get there, right?
Yeah, that's right.
You know, so set your ladder up and be objective and be open-minded and understanding and, you know, and, you know, love is the answer, man. If we be cool to each other and we share our information and we share our knowledge, guess what's going to happen? We're going to push ourselves forward.
Definitely.
And you know, you do it, as I said, I feel like I'm blowing wind up your ass, but I'm not. I think the work you do is very valuable.
I appreciate it.
And I'm sure the people that you allow a platform for would totally agree with me, man. Well, as I say, mate, we didn't get to, you know, we've been at this for 2 hours. We didn't even get to half of what we wanted to get to.
Well, over 2 hours now.
But so you have to come back.
Definitely. No, that's fine. I'm happy with
I know Angus wants to meet you as well. He might have been in tonight, but he's a bit under the weather.
That's all right.
So yeah, listen, man, thanks very much for your time. And yeah, thank you to the Encounters Down Under audience. Lovely to meet you people, and Unlocking the Code. Welcome Anthony and his people into the fold, and let's continue moving forward together.
Absolutely, man. If anyone wants to come on the podcast with your own experiences there, be sure to get me on Facebook, messenger there, or can email us at Australian UFO sightings at outlook.com.au. Yeah, just get in touch, or if you want me to go and look at some footage and that, look, I'm going to treat it with all the respect there and try and figure out what something is. Anything's a possibility, and I'm hoping that one person does actually have that one
that
bit of
golden
footage,
piece of footage.
yeah, that golden nugget, that's going to go, look, I can undeniably say that's something amazing, So
He's
yeah,
hoping, mate. He's hoping. If you get that bit of footage, you send it to me as well, please.
definitely, man. With their permission, of course, But
with everyone's permission, obviously, yeah, with respect and obviously understanding. But
so,
yeah, no, you provide a valuable service, mate. And look, I look forward to our next conversation. Thanks,
definitely,
Anthony.
man. Love it. Cheers, mate.
Right.
Recording stopped.
Oh, fucking hell, mate.
2 hours.
2 hours, man. I told you we wouldn't shut up, didn't I? I told you we
Yeah.
wouldn't shut. We went everywhere then too. I don't even know what we're going to call that.
Yeah, no, we didn't really touch on where we really wanted to go with it, but just
We
sorta-
didn't touch on anything we actually wanted to talk about. So so we have to do it again. Oh no, we have to sit
damn.
down.
It's amazing, It's just where it just wants to take you. Like, you can just. It's so hard to stick to topic on this sort of shit.
Well, that's because the rabbit hole's so it's a rabbit warren, man. It just goes everywhere. And the problem is, it all comes back to the same. It all comes back around and around and around, mate.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff, dude. But listen, it's late for both of us. Let's.
Yeah.
I'm going to get out of here. I'll send you the audio file and the video file if you want it.
Yep.
I didn't really show you too much. Like I said, we didn't get to half of the stuff. Like I was going to show you all sorts of weird shit. So, we haven't even come close, mate. We haven't even come close. I was trying to find, when we were talking about it, I was trying to find my camera. I've got my telescope attaches to my DSLR.
Oh, nice. That'd be awesome.
And I took some wicked photos of Venus, but obviously they're not on this because I run a lot of the podcast stuff runs through a different laptop with the audio program and stuff.
Yep.
But that was the pick of the moonshots that I got.
Oh, ripper.
Yeah, crazy, eh?
That's awesome.
And see
Makes
that
you wonder what's on there, eh?
So perspective, right? That's the Tycho crater there.
Yep.
Okay, that's 85 kilometers internal diameter.
Yeah.
So that gives you perspective. That's 85 k's inside that hole.
Yeah.
So, expand out from there. But yeah, I'll find the photos of Mars, and I was sure they were on this computer somewhere, but I just fucking couldn't find them. Because what I was going to show you is that I've got. I just don't think that they're here. Oh, they are. There they are. Look.
There we go.
Fucking hell! Watch this.
Is that your telescope there, is it?
Yeah, it's not anything flash, man. But the DSLR, it's still manual, like it's
Yep.
not control. But yeah, you plug the DSLR into there.
Oh, ripper.
Yeah, obviously this is for next time because I was fucking, where the fuck is it? I just couldn't see it for love nor money. But here, watch this, right? Check that out. That is a meteorite tumbling through space, dude.
Nice.
Right. So what I did, okay, so this is exactly what I did, right? So I went out. As I say, I'm out near the Wivenhoe Dam. So there's all these lawn farms out here.
Yeah.
And we went out the back of one of the lawn farms. My mate's brother works on one. So we set the telescope up because there's no light pollution around there. And I plugged the DSLR in. We pointed. This is the middle star of Orion's belt. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I pointed it at. I hit the DSLR, so preset, like 5-second aperture, 10-shot burst. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, just 50. And honestly,
Shutter speed,
Yep, shutter speed. I hit the button and I walked away. Lit a smoke, sitting there talking to me mate, and just let the camera do its thing. Ding, 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 ding. And I've got the other shots of this. And I took this photo to a little alien-looking bloke at a telescope shop here in Brisbane. And I said, what the fuck is this, man? Because I think it's a meteorite tumbling through space. And he's like, That's exactly what it is. You've just captured a 1 in a million shot, because there's no, like, I didn't touch it, Anthony. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
said, you'd be the critical thinking. I literally pressed the remote and turned around and walked away. No one touched the telescope. No one touched anything. The telescope didn't move. But what I find the trippiest thing is, watch this. Look at all those
It's
stars,
tumbling.
man.
Oh,
It's tumbling. Yeah, look. See?
you
It's
sure
like
that's stars, not the digital pixelation?
no, this is stars, dude. Look at that. But this here is a stone, a meteorite tumbling through space.
Yeah. No, because you can see it, because like, you can see the whole pattern, like as if, because like I don't know if you played with shutter speed, but like you can go and move around and it'll follow your exact same pattern. But like, yeah, that is literally tumbling.
It's tumbling, man. Like that is a 1 in a million shot, dude. Like it's a and where is there? She is. There's Venus. Yeah.
Bright and beautiful.
So you can see why that's, mistaken for a UFO.
Yeah.
Like, just beautiful. I mean, look at the rainbows coming off it, man. Just amazing. Just amazing. But where's the one I'm looking for? And then I'll let you go, because this is going to blow your mind. Here we go. So this is, I can't remember what star this is. Betelgeuse, maybe?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So again, aperture speed, to be 3-second burst, 3 or 4 shot, and this is one of the middle shots, right? There's another
Little
galaxy.
galaxies. Yep.
Galaxy, right? Galaxy. Where's the? Oh, it's not this one. I've got another one where there's a photo of a massive gas cloud.
Oh, nebula.
Yeah, where's that? Oh, there's
That's
Jupiter.
Jupiter.
Yeah, it's Jupiter and her 4 moons. Well, 4 of her moons, I should say. See, some of it's not real good. You got to set it up right. It takes a lot of fucking around. But see, look at that. Look at the stars moving, right? So and this is the thing. People don't understand how fast stars move, man. Like that's stars moving. But look in the background. Galaxy. Like little red, purple, and green. You see them? There's another purple one down here.
Beautiful.
There's a red one.
Jeez, you've done well with the camera to be able to pick that up and like zoom in too. Like that's amazing.
Well, I looked at it a lot. There's a Mustang. I looked at it for a long time, man. I set it up. It was
Look at the Pegasus one.
Yeah. That's Pegasus, but it didn't work out.
Oh yeah, the moving stars buggered
Yeah,
it.
moving stars, man. But again, you look in the background. Galaxy. Yeah.
Yeah, because you sort of had me questioning there, like because I wasn't sure like how well you're going to pick up the stars in the background. I actually thought it might have been digital pixelations,
No.
like little blots here and there.
No,
but,
well, it's
stars.
It's an EOS 550D. Like was the best camera in 2012 or 13. So it's a proper, it's a proper good camera. Yeah, there's the one with the gas cloud. Look at that.
Wow.
Look, Galaxy.
Yeah, this is shit. I love doing this sort of stuff. That's stuff I want to get into.
Yeah, man.
But it's bloody expensive though to get some good gear.
Yeah, I think so. Basically, what happened was that I bought new lenses and everything for the telescope, and the lenses that I got were too big for the mirror. The lenses were basically better than the mirror.
Yep.
And it was like either start the podcast or spend $1,500 on a telescope. So I started the podcast. But yeah, there's one. Yeah, look at this, right? So I told a mate of mine to pick the darkest spot in the night sky, and I'll take a photo, right? And I did, right? So I think it was 3-second burst. Look at that.
Holy Jesus.
Just fucking goes on forever, man.
Look
at it. Look at it. Every single one of those things is a star, dude. Look at it.
It's amazing.
It never ends, man. What the fuck is that little cluster there? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And you just see, it's pretty fun. There's another little galaxy hiding there. Look at it, man. Another little cluster. What's that? All right, just never ends. All right, just keep zooming, man. It never ends. And look at that. Nothing.
Yeah.
right? So the
It's
guy
shit
that
what
I
we're missing out on, eh?
oh, it's unbelievable, man. The guy that I did this to doesn't smoke a lot of weed, and we had given him a bit, and then I showed him. I said, "Come in here," and I went like this, and he just went, "Whoa, man!" And he was quiet for like 45 minutes, man. I just shot him through a wormhole in the universe. He's like, "But I can't see anything." I'm like, "Yeah, but watch that." You know, it's fucking crazy, man.
Yeah.
And I think that's for me. Before I started the podcast, I was doing this, and it's like it shifts your perspective, right? I mean, watch this. Look at that, man.
It's shit everywhere, eh?
It's fucking unbelievable, man. It's yeah.
But you
There's
know
another
what
one.
sucks though? It's like,
That's the darkest spot in the sky. Look at that.
but what sucks though is like we can't go out there with a telescope and see that.
No, no, no.
It's
The
shit.
only reason, yeah, I could not see that through the telescope. The camera got to see that
Yeah.
because of the aperture shot.
Yeah.
I didn't physically see that.
It's shit though, eh? It's like,
Yeah.
that's the shit I want to look at, you know? This is
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to point the telescope and go, oh, look at that nebula, and just like go, wow. But nah, we can't see the detail of it. It's shit.
No, I mean, this is basically the thing was to get Jupiter and the moons.
Yep.
And I spent, when Jupiter's in that arc, every night, every clear night, I was trying to get a clear photo of Jupiter and the rings.
You won't get rings with Jupiter. You get Saturn there.
I know the spot, the red spot. You know what I mean? You can see but yeah, look, couldn't get it, man.
No, you need to change your lenses again.
Yeah, I've got colored lenses now. But what was happening is that I was at the end of the mirror, right? It's like the refraction and whatever it is. But still, that's Jupiter. But look, watch this. If I go like that, it's still caught another galaxy, man. Some sort of galaxy there. Yeah, there's another purple one down here.
Yep. Bloody hell. I'll send you to a Facebook group. I'll sort of keep an eye on with some of their stuff. It's called Amateur Astronomy Australia or something like that.
Yeah. Send it through to me. Yeah.
And
sure.
like people going through this stuff all the time. Like, they'll help you go through to get the right lenses and shit like that.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. Oh, here you go. So this is that was the refinery.
Okay.
That was a fucking piece of shit, fucking bong den that it used to be. And this was stage one.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's like the old XY mic that we used to use.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no. Yeah, this was the refinery version 1. Actually, trippy shit. Talk about trippy shit. That's Gun. Glasshouse Mountains. Trippy shit happens up there too.
Yeah, I imagine there would. Beautiful going past there, though, looking at those mountains.
Oh, yeah, I've been up through there a few times, man. But no, mate, the rabbit hole's never... I'm glad I could... Actually, I'm probably more glad I could find those off the podcast as opposed to on the podcast to show you. But yeah, I'll never... That is a meteorite tumbling through space, man.
That is amazing.
Isn't it? It's unbelievable. Like, I mean, I'm like you, dude. I will look at things from every perspective. And I'm like, listen, what is this? And I took it to this dude that looked like an alien. He seriously, this guy at the telescope shop in Logan did not look like he was from around here, all right? He probably needs to come on your podcast, mate. But yeah, he goes, man, you have just by chance total chance captured a fucking meteorite tumbling through space. Because every other shot either side of it doesn't have that. It's only that one shot that looks like that. So by the time the aperture would close and then reopen again, that was gone. Damn. Unreal, eh?
So is that supposed to be the main object? That blue one? Is that supposed to be the actual...
Yeah, so this here is the middle star of Orion's belt.
Oh, so yeah, that's right. The star, yep. So you just missed out on the actual main body of the shooting star. Or is it disintegrated maybe?
I don't know. It's either, or it might have come into focus or something, right? It looks like it's come through here and it's tumbling. You know what I mean? I don't know. Because I mean, so you think about that's how far that star moves in.
Oh, yeah, sorry,
nothing.
I'm thinking it must have been going the other way. Gone.
You know,
Shooting
so
that way,
that's
it's coming
No,
down.
it's coming down this
Yeah,
way,
yeah, gotcha.
right? And this is 5 seconds, right? So that's how much the star of
Star's
Orion's
moved.
belt moved in 5 seconds.
Yep.
And so in 5 seconds, that thing is tumbled like that through that aperture.
Wow.
Yeah. And yeah, you can literally see it tumbling.
So it makes you wonder how big this thing was.
I don't know, man. Exactly.
'Cause
Exactly.
obviously, you can see that there's a. I don't know. You can sort of like when it gets to the end there, that's
Sort of
probably
see it looks like.
smaller, and it might have been bigger to go on. Like once it started hitting the
I don't know, man. It's a weird one, eh?
the
But again,
atmosphere and shit like that.
Again, though, let's ignore that and watch this. You know what I mean? It's just fucking goes on, dude. It just never ends. Just never ends, man. Me and Angus, we're the guys that do the podcast, and we chose a star, one of the prominent stars in the sky, and wrote, how far away is that? How many light years away is that?
Oh.
And then we tried to convert that distance into kilometers, and yeah, we nearly fucking had a conniption on the front lawn. But oh, well, mate, listen, hey, awesome to meet you, man. Let's fucking pack it up because it's
sorry, 2012.
It's 20 to 12. Awesome to meet you, man. And listen, as I say, we're not going to have any trouble, and we got to get to the sacred grid, and we've got to get to alignments, and I'll do a bit of a UFO deep dive as well before the next one we do as well, just to answer that question properly as to what's the oldest depiction of UFOs in rock art and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I've got it somewhere. You know what I mean? The research never ends. Well, listen, brother, thank you.
Thank you.
Man. It's been awesome, man, and awesome to connect with Aussie podcasters. Like,
definitely.
I love connecting with those boys overseas and stuff, but I'd rather keep it in our own backyard as well.
Yeah,
you
I'm
know?
saying that's why I sort of keep things dedicated to our backyard. You know, because you hear other podcasts they're just across the world. You know, everything's sort of dedicated to more America than anything. And you know, there is a few other podcasts there that sort of do dive on the Aussie-based ones there, but it's like I want to dedicate to Australia, and I want to dedicate straight to UFOs, like, you know, because you would know the Believe podcast there with Cade.
Yeah.
He covers all aspects there, but it's like I want to keep it that one, like, you know,
keep it focused. Yeah.
Keep it on one focus, you know. Yeah. So yeah, no, look, thanks again, man. Thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah, no, you've got to come back, mate. There's no ifs, buts, or maybes. You're coming back.
Definitely.
Yeah, we'll talk again soon, man. Look after yourself, eh?
You too, mate. Enjoy. Talk to you soon.
Mate. See you, mate.
Cheers, mate. And that will do it, folks, for this episode of Encounters Down Under. I hope you enjoyed the show, and remember, you can also get involved in the show by joining the Facebook page and getting in on the live streams. Also, please be sure to share with your friends and family to help us grow and potentially find our next guest on the show. If you or you know someone who has had an encounter, please get in touch with me through our Facebook page via Messenger or email at AustralianUFOsightings@outlook.com.au.